he swore he'd not stay. Just like me being a professor, he was moving on, and here we both are. So
18 months.
18 months, that's right.
I finished my degree.
Yep. I was going to be a college professor.
It's going to be like.
So a lawyer and a college professor walk into a bar now. Okay. And then we got Jenny, and Jenny came to us. There's actually a company that we worked with for years in Xenia, and she came over there 8 years ago, and they are our design team. Tim has had nearly 2 decades of design experience in the memorial industry. Jenny obviously has had 8 and also some design experience in more of the T-shirt graphic arts kind of world. So between the 2 of them, they help design pretty much every memorial that we produce. And so what I thought I'd do is have him come here and talk to you guys about what a good composition, shape, form, and then we're going to let you guys have a little fun and let you sketch your own monument. And then we'll hold them up and make fun of. No, we won't do that. I promise, because I can't draw either. So with no further ado,
That's why we have Jen.
that's right.
That's right.
If I were in their jobs, we'd be out of business by now. So here's Tim and Jenny. Everybody give them a warm welcome.
Ladies first.
Oh, see, okay. So when you design a monument, what you want to keep in mind is how you want to represent your life. Do you want, your humor to show through? Do you want your faith to show through? You want to make sure that the most important element, obviously, is your family name. You want to be able to walk out into the cemetery and see your family name from a distance to be able to find your loved ones. Now it's your turn.
Or your loved ones to find you.
Yes.
You have the perfect opportunity to design something for yourself and not leave it up to somebody else. Imagine you worked your whole life and you were an electrician, but you didn't like the job, but your family thought that was what you loved. So they put an electrician symbol on your monument. And you're like, no, this is what I want. So it's a time to express what you want. And to leave something for genealogy. You leave your mark on the world, because stone lasts pretty much forever.
Well, and it takes some of the grief away from your family members too. Like, if your family member passes away and you're the daughter or son, you're left to deal with this during the most horribly grievous time of your life, I guess. So if you get an opportunity to pre-plan it ahead of schedule, that takes a little bit of the stress off of them and they can focus more on family and friends and remembering you in a kind way, and takes a little bit of the stress away. This personal experience speaking on that one.
And they're all shapes and sizes, from a small marker, which me and my wife will probably end up having. We're just going to design something small. And we already know what cemetery we're going to, and because her brother's there. So we're going to go there too. And I don't have any aspirations about what they do about mine. But I don't want her to have to deal with it, so I've already designed it. It's already in the system. It just needs a go button.
Yeah. And that's kind of what pre-plan
But
will do.
there's uprights, there's slants, there's bevel markers, there's so many different styles of
Custom
stone.
shapes.
And you have limitations, of course. The smaller the stone, the less you can have on there. The larger the stone, the more elaborate your design can be.
Yeah, but you have to set cemetery limitations too.
Correct.
Some cemeteries won't allow certain things,
Yeah.
So,
Got rules.
but that's where your sales team comes into play. They'll take care of that part.
They'll tell you what rules, what parameters you can
Yeah.
design in. And you go out and you look around and you see something that you like, you snap a shot of it and say, I love this design. There's traditional, which, well, if you ever travel around a cemetery, you'll see that a lot of Roman and font. The font is Roman, and the lettering is specific sizes, and there are specific places where everything's at. It's traditional. It's natural. This is the way things are. Or you can be more elaborate and have large things with your family name in a different direction.
Scripty fonts.
Scripty fonts. It gets down to the details, the tiny little
Yeah.
things, the type of ribbon or scroll work you like to have, or
If you want a custom design.
what verse
component.
or passage in the Bible or whatever book you hold here.
Yeah.
Anything. It could be added there. But your limitation is usually the type of stone you have and the size. That's where we come into play.
Yes.
We can tell you, well, this is what will work, this is great, or this won't work, but hey, we did this. What do you think of this? And that's the greatest thing is artist discretion. You let us loose and you say, well, this is the basic one we want, and we'd like to see what you come up with. And that's where we get to shine. We get to like, oh,
Yeah.
I know exactly what would work or how something would.
And if you don't like something, you just communicate with us. I love this part, but I don't necessarily like this flower here. Can you make it something else?
That's why we
the
send
fun
proofs.
interaction. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not a final thing that you receive from us. It's a work in progress. And you say, we like this, we like this. Oh, we forgot. We need that this. We showed this to our kids, and they said, well, we want this on there. And then your kids will take over. And then pretty soon you're doing everything. Okay, fine.
I'll do that. So it's kind of limitless to a point. So like if we see something that you want on your monument and it's just something that won't hold up in sandblast or will not look great once it's sandblasted, we're gonna tell you up front. And we don't want you to think we're saying, no, you can't have this. We're just saying you're gonna have to have a modified version of this. Or if something absolutely will not work, then we would have to say, unfortunately, this won't work. But that's few and far between.
It's never a no. It's more like, well, how about this?
Yeah. Yeah,
I get what you want, but this is how we can represent it.
exactly.
Because stone is different than print. Unless you're lasering something, and then that's a different story.
Yeah,
We also do lasering, which it's not as traditional, but it
it's
is, you
definitely
can
not as
do a
traditional.
lot more different things.
You can have photos of your loved ones. You can have photos of your pets. You can
Scenes.
song versus scenes. Exactly. So
You
you
can-
can do a little bit of everything on laser.
It's how you wish to be represented
Yes.
from now to eternity.
No photo.
Yeah.
And the best advice I could give is look around and see what you liked. Cemeteries they're a wonderful place to actually stroll through.
Yeah.
I mean, people are so afraid of that part of life, but I'm not. It's peaceful. No crowds.
No.
I know in the 1800s, they used to like have picnics. They did stuff.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, you're with the people that you love.
Right.
Everybody there, someone loved them.
Yeah.
So our part is to help design what you want and to make it happen and to create it. And it's really nice to have as much input as we can have and to work with the.
Yeah, the more
Work with
details, the better off we can give you. Like the more detail on
Don't
your
ever
ideas.
settle. Don't say, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine. No. You want what you want, and we want you to have the greatest experience possible for your family from now to forever. So that their great-grandkids will come by and then, oh, I heard stories about this person. I heard stories about you, and, it's a place to visit, too. I know that that's kind of gone away a little bit, but it should be brought back, I think. It's a place to visit. It's a memorial.
It should be something that when you're designing your memorial, that when your children or your great-grandchildren or even your grandchildren look at it, they're like, that reminds me so much of my grandma, or that reminds me so much of my mom or dad. It should represent your personality, your faith, your energy, whatever. It should represent you.
And also, if you did anything really great and important, like.
Yeah.
And I think that brings up something we haven't talked about. What our mission statement says is that we create lasting visions of love. Now, that's a hard thing to get used to, talking to somebody that walks up in the airport and says, what do you do? And the impulse to just say, I sell headstones. No, we create lasting visions of love, typically through granite memorials. And that's the mentality we have. There are a lot of headstone companies out there. 3 sizes, 3 colors, here's a couple flowers, what do you want? A lot of headstone companies. There are not many lasting vision of love companies. And that's where our design team and our memorial consultants come in, is to help you create to what they talked about, something that tells a story that creates a lasting vision of love. And that's the biggest difference I feel working with Dodds versus anybody else, is we help get you there, and these people help get you there.
So we have some graph paper. that we can like give out a couple pages?
Yeah, just Desiree, hang on, I'll get the,
I don't have to have graph paper. Is it done?
This is our, this is what our salespeople.
Yeah, whatever.
Jenny, do you have a pencil?
She needs one. We're done, I mean, honestly. Everyone's still living. We're done.
Oh, you have your.
Yeah, so you need these cows.
Yeah.
So I would take sex, so it's at least. Bushes up, decorating, there's so much.
Sorry, did I hear you right?
Did it make the cut?
You can't find it.
Yeah.
That's why some places do, don't you?
I just chopped back down two bushes on family members
Yeah.
because they were just.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. In fact, I recommended the cemetery superintendents that they just get chopped down.
Yeah.
I didn't have chainsaws there.
I got drawn up.
Yeah, you see it, if they haven't had anything done, what have they done in the last couple of years?
The maintenance of the headstone is responsibility.
Yeah.
Oh, are you? Did I hear you say you at Arlington?
We've got scheduled withdrawals.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But this is cemetery preservation.
I was just talking about what is,
So it's like a bronze,
One is Orvis, which is a Procter & Gamble printer. Very good.
I got one, I promise you.
It's also a favorite of
So are they flat or did you have? Okay.
Yeah. Now, the first cemeteries I worked at, it was mostly.
It's concentrated, I mix it up, and I get a little double strand, and work on it. Two tablespoons for water.
We're sitting here trading.
So I would typically brush your
Hands up, really.
then use a lot of water and Orvis detergent. And then the actual cemetery preservation chemical is fairly expensive, but it's called biological
Life size.
from at-risk preservation.
Oh, okay.
And it's what Arlington Cemetery, the national cemeteries use to keep their
So what's
headstones white.
So my son.
Works
Very. He's near Post Courtyard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be a hard job. It's mental. I think that would be
They're
mental.
running out of room.
Oh,
They're starting to make the criteria.
yeah. And they're letting the horses rest for,
Yeah.
they were really abused. Nobody took care of them. And they have, because they had wounds on their legs. So they just said, no, we're strong.
They switched out to a different team. They were letting the original team rest.
My brother Bob.
In their grief, they get the drawing and you're like, hey, is this?
That's why we
It's what
Yeah.
like 3 people lived in it, and they got it. Put it at her gravesite, and it was
is either her date of
Using
death
officer
and date of
or
birth,
for the horses.
spelling out her name.
Have higher rank. Let's say
Not to start off with her, but I think that whoever did it, and it'll kind of split the cost with them, because
They're like a work.
okay, that's really good, so I see the benefit of this pre-planned.
It's
It's
not
nice,
handbook, it's a
because,
handbook piece.
okay, if
But
they're
it's
doing
not
this,
in my
where you say, you're in a state of shock,
Why not you be?
you know,
Where I was
you slow down.
Lauren, you know. I don't think that's. So then there won't be anybody living.
Oh, that would be much.
Is able to cover the dinner with.
That's all. So if we cremate, then we'll just recently one of the parties.
Possess.
They actually can't be
Catalog of shapes that start out.
Shapes to start with.
Right.
Randy put them under his tree.
Depends on the size of your monument.
For a single, about 30 inch.
Like a marker lays flat. Or it can be covered to face about 8
So I think what you grave spaces typically are 42 to 48 inches.
Yeah, well.
And usually you have to be in that ground. So for a single, you're gonna have something that has a maximum width of between 36 and 42 inches. 36 is usually a little thumb on the bottom. Okay, so if you have
Right.
a two-piece upright, you're gonna have about 36 inches to 40 inches of space. And that makes your upright tablet about 30 to 32. That would be a fairly typical
With a 6 inch.
single. 6 or 8, it's preference. I typically do singles and 6 inch, doubles and 8 inch, but then you can't do it either way. Additionally, 6 inches is designed for singles, 8 inches.
The reason you go is. That's why but nobody's gonna come.
Yeah, something a little bit different.
TRC 401.
That would be fine. 302, 401, just something that's really unique. I think every one of us has seen a surf top, so we might as well try something a little bit different.
That's your basic.
Yeah, that's your basic.
No, I don't want the.
And then we get more elaborate.
We do the 301,
Champagne, which
Jane.
is.
Chip the 301. Two more over. Two more over. One more that one. That's a chamfer 301.
Where would mine go? It's a permanent place. The whole point of being a cemetery is a permanent place.
Folks, basically any shape you want, we can do as long as it is mechanically able to be done. Sometimes we get into shapes that get either too sharp, too pointy. But if we're mechanically able to do it, we will do it. Modern technology allows us to be pretty creative when it comes to shape. So three facets of design: shape, finish, and then obviously your artwork. You can use that mixture to create your memorial. If you're a sailboat fan, you can put a sailboat on your monument, or you can shape your whole monument to look like a sailboat. So there's a lot of different options.
Bill, I saw one where it was an upright granite monument and it had a couple walking up and the doorway was actually carved out. So you can do like a whole.
Got one of those in Middletown, actually.
Okay.
It's a reading monument in Middletown. It's walking through. It's a drill and wire saw is how they get through that.
Okay.
Think of the mine.
Just do it bronze. Yep, okay, that's what I
They
thought.
probably do more bronze than any other police monument. At least.
Okay.
Straight thing over the and.
I've been full screen probably 10 times.
So what equipment are you using to carve?
The stones are carved at quarry. We carve the lettering in, that's it.
So there's no raised lettering anymore?
No.
just buy sandblasted in the back. And what depth is sandblasted? 310.
So that would be 3/16. Actually, that's 60 to 30 seconds. 3/32. Pennies of 30 seconds of an inch. So when you measure out in the cemetery how many pennies, instead of trying to use a tape measure, you start stacking pennies. And once you have it like at the top,
Go get me a couple.
then you can multiply that by how many 30 seconds you have.
Go get me a couple.
The thing with square and round raised lettering, because of the hand tooling that it usually takes to do it, you're looking at something that will cost somewhere between $40 and $80 per letter to do because of the extra.
Oh, very decent.
Yeah. Yeah, Paradiso is a gorgeous stone.
My favorite. Paradiso is my favorite color. That's coral blue. It is. It's alphabetical.
Having you draw a monument.
Yeah, that's. Yes.
Oh, Midnight Live.
No.
What I need. How do we do it?
Oh, yeah, that's the name.
Right.
That's up top.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yes, that's a college freshman.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a good book. And I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like that.
Well,
You got it.
these two
And what? You're right in the top.
Oh, shit, Grandma.
Yeah, for those of you that are not comfortable in actually drawing artwork, you can always just name it.
Yeah.
So like me, if I wanted an angel, I'll just put angel, because if I try to draw one, Lord help us on what that angel will look like.
I've had to skip on the plot for 40 years.
I think that's the way we are.
That would really stand out.
So you
Yeah.
Every time from
No, nice.
Yeah.
That's your question.
Did I show you this last year? My grandparents got theirs three dogs. That was over in Xenia. They got the yeah.
You just put it.
Yeah.
I have a dear friend.
Anniversary date there. Very proud of it. We're very, very happy with it. Yeah.
They're cussing you guys and the sandwich having your outline.
Oh, really? Is that hard to do?
So when you get into these cells, it also get out a big chunk of sometimes it'll say, so you have a big chunk of granite pepper. Now these letters, it's not when you start getting the letters, you get that and sometimes you have the whole thing.
And so they have to start from scratch when that happens?
There's some things we can do.
Okay.
We may polish sometime, or maybe help her make it. We can use a resin and crushed granite.
Okay.
But yeah, axed outline on chunky granite is very good.
Okay. Gotcha.
I was somebody in San Luis, like,
Chris, not
and they weren't mad at you
Chris, not
guys.
the
They were mad at the
salesperson.
salesperson.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And wood pearl's coming in really dark these days, which is,
Okay.
and the irony is it's made in Norway. Most of it's shipped to China, to Xiamen. and that's where they do all the work.
Okay.
Because it's cheaper to ship all the pajama and have that basic and sell it than it is for little regions to try to do. So
Gotcha.
they just ship, I don't know if it's blocks or slabs, but they just send them down to China. And then that's where most of that comes from, is China.
Wow. That's wild. So there aren't like more, are there like tariffs on it? Is it still more expensive?
Still about 25%. But it's still cheaper than the old way of doing the furrow, which is they tried to manufacture it up in Norway, and it was or in the United States. And it just so the labor's so cheap. It's still cheap to ship the pajama and send it out. Because beef furrow used to be the most expensive grade of his.
Okay.
That and Wausau.
Okay.
Shoe grades are just exorbitantly
Which is cool though. I was telling them actually designing memorials is one of my favorite parts of the job. It's just really cool.
So do you use personal reflections to do it?
We use eVantage through Matthews.
Okay, you guys should.
Yeah, we have some Cold Springs, like our lawn crypts, they order those through Cold Springs, but 90% of the time we just design. Now, when I was at the Catholic cemetery, I was drawing things out. They had us sketching things out. I'm not an artist, so.
I feel you. I do.
Yeah, I was telling them every time I had to draw praying hands, I was like,
It's like skeleton fingers.
Yeah.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? Is this a comedic style?
It's just.
The guy that used to work
He need props.
Oh my god. And I can't get any weight on her. I feed her 3 or 4 times a day and it just comes out in diarrhea and I can't get weight on her. So we're taking her a new diet. Yeah. And trying to give her some probiotics that are. That's right. Yeah, I just can't get her. But Tigger is doing well. And then the other day, my Tigger would donate a few pounds. All right. Well, actually, Harley needs to donate a few pounds because Harley came in at the age of 14, weighing 16 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So Tigger's only, he's between 12. Harley is one heavy. Well, if you don't have pictures, you can also do girls like that are similar.
I've done that before.
I don't know.
If you had a long hair or something, you can probably get a little like that. And just picture this coming out. We do it a lot. We'll do it on Google. Yeah, so that's of course. Yeah, and actually, since they're picking them,
I remember last year you were telling us about the couple.
Oh, that is. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mary's worse than
She's like, okay, honey.
She's buying up, swiping every policy.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Put whatever you want. Pick the date that goes on it.
I mean, I just remember
I don't want anything.
I'm like,
Oh, that's awesome.
God bless him. If you met him, he's the sweetest guy. Oh, he couldn't be upset. And he couldn't be right.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
And man, his Judaism was because he'd do, instead of temporary marker one time, he'd do temporary. Temporary. And instead of, we use simulated raised letters. So if you don't want to pay for all the tooling behind, you can simulate blast it.
Okay.
He sent in a contract that said stimulated raised letters. And then the other one was, instead of dropped off by Memorial Day, he got talking because it was across the street. He put drop off by Memorial Park. So like, you just want us to shove it in the ditch? Sure. It was never supposed to be. It was supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
And so we had all these grooming. We'd sit there. He'd like
Oh, yeah.
between his drawings and his grooming, he's just lying.
I'm sure my office had a good laugh over some of my
I mean, it was just like,
yeah.
and I'm sure at the time he didn't even realize it.
Right.
I remember calling him saying, "Hey, talk about your drawing skills, buddy." I know it's not good. I said, no, you don't get it. It's worse than that. Well, he saw it. He's like, oh my goodness. I don't know if we'd ever laugh that hard in our lives.
I would have framed it and put it up on the wall.
Oh, I don't think that'd get him. Boy, it's seared, as you can tell, seared into my memory. I know exactly how I think it was.
And you know, every time he sold that design from there on out,
Oh, yeah, we're like, just put fingers. I don't care how bad they look. Put fingers. Fingers.
Yeah, my husband is tired of me because when I was used to just sketching it out, and then we got the software, so I had to practice first before I was going to sit down with the family.
So you made your markers on over.
And he did not appreciate that. Do you know where you're going? Do you have a family cemetery?
I mean, if it's anytime soon, it would be Maple Hill and Tip City.
Okay.
That would be probably.
Okay.
My wife and I plan to stay in Ohio, so
Where are you going?
somewhere where there's mountains and a college town.
Okay.
I don't know if I probably Denver Boulder because of cost of living, but you know, whether it's Virginia, I love Berlin.
Okay.
But she's like, we never make it through the winters, so just someplace. Cat's got a header on there. And Blue Ridge, I don't know what Boston. We're mountain and lake.
Okay.
And we like colder weather, which makes us crazy.
I'm really suffering. I can't.
I understand. I appreciate you being here.
But I really appreciate this morning session. It worked out well.
Very nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Rotary Exchange Student
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Mexico.
for Oakwood.
Yeah. I didn't realize you were in the Rotary Club.
Past president.
Awesome. Well, I will forever be indebted.
Hmm?
We just leave these someplace.
I can make sure. I'll make sure.
And then pass it down.
I will
Thank you
make
so
sure.
much.
You're
You're so
welcome.
great. Yeah.
Good luck keeping him in line. It's a full-time job.
Be back in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Enjoy the book tour and the speaking. Former educator, but he writes mysteries. And then he goes, I've been seeing him about recent. We used to do exchange a lot. People, busy lives that have the idea of having a kid stay with you for half a year. We used to have 2 exchange students. That was back when we had 100 people.
Okay.
Did you do it? Were you involved in 2011, 2012?
I'm as possible.
Okay. My friend Tasha Fox went through this.
Yeah, because Rick Williamson was a exchange student. Very active.
Rest of it's very neat.
She went to Belgium.
Person.
Is that Columbus history?
It's all done.
We don't do anything. Not
Yeah,
sure.
it was,
Yeah, you can mission work. We've talked about this before.
Yes, I was in Mexico. I'll be back to talk to you guys. And never came back. It was my bad Spanish, this poor lady, Mexican woman, trying to describe how to build her house.
Gotcha.
La puerta aquí. Oh, no.
Like,
Yeah, it's very, very simple.
There's a decent amount for a lot of them because there's at the Catholic cemeteries, especially for because they're Catholic, you know, like. But it's interesting, and I realized that I don't know how to say that in Spanish. I don't know how to say that.
The other thing is, when we get taught Spanish, we built pictures. Spain Spanish.
Right.
You know what you're
Formal.
talking about. Yeah. I remember going down to Costa Rica, walking into a Sierra Cafe and it's done. Yeah, dame por favor. Okay. Oh my God. I mean, it just, it was different.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like my kids were saying.
Well, and that's what would get me because that's the foundation. And then like I love cards. You're supposed to say well, no, just like well.
Well, it's like the other thing in Central America is everybody in the film is always entonces, 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 entonces.
So we have these beautiful memorials designed over
I
here.
have an idea, I have a concept.
You got a concept? All right.
They blame you and you're the top.
Any 20-foot walking mausoleums over here?
He said any shape.
And that's the thing, you can do that. Oh,
You are holding.
Wow. Great, the grandma's great, or that's the shit.
We never get to see that one. That's before my
Oh, Roger.
That's awesome.
Just
No, I know.
If you're reading,
What do you find it tastes out?
That is cool. Like,
our
actual.
How big was it?
Oh, he was awesome. And then they can have the average, remember, in the shop. Once they got the add-on, it's the, oh my. Yeah, I know, one of my, it was mandatory, if you walked by, you had to say there's a sneaker.
I have to imagine that that was a on the bottom of the shoe.
There's been some really pretty ones go through. Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's, you would think it'd be a depressing place to work, but you hear so many stories about people and their families, and a lot of times they're laughing. You know, they're remembering their loved ones and they're laughing, and it's wonderful. I wonder how long the sales team
Sometimes
last are working on the design. I could say they're not getting exactly what they're having their head in, and I doubt.
It says Washington.
I have my doubts that it's actually hold up. We used to bring them upstairs, and it's a lot of our families are having people that can't just. Not that, I mean, I did the old building, was upstairs. Okay, so we try to get downstairs. We're in Zena. Yeah, so we've got the old beautiful building.
Okay. Well, I was showing you, when it's my grandparents. it's clear range theirs, and I was like, I'm gonna shut down.
I mean, there's.
That's Daughters of the Revolution, yeah.
Just kind of give
Grandma sent me.
I said I was gonna finish this last week.
Yeah.
But as a cemetery in Xenia, I know you've only.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Oh, it's
One.
And then you decide to take the information and design. How many were there? You're right, there's a lot. But it's fun, you know, and the sales team's really good about talking to us, you know, if they have a customer that they know is really specific about something. They'll say, hey, I know this person's gonna be really specific, can you show it to me first? That way we can go back and forth before the family sees it and fix anything, if it's going to, yeah, about this or that, you know. Yeah, on a good day, we used to be able to do 3 or 15, but everything is getting so custom now. We do it so now.
Yeah.
You want something custom.
And you've probably done tattoos.
We have.
Engravings on.
Yeah. I just did one recently for a bench, and you would not believe how hard it is to take a good photo of somebody's tattoo on their arm to draw it, because if you don't get it just right, it distorts. So,
Yeah.
that's the other thing, good quality photos make all the difference.
We've already had cemetery designs. So we're on flesh, but we do bronze memorials.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
it's more of like choosing the outline.
Yeah. See, we don't do any of the bronzes, that's, I think, Catholic was, I think they send it, they send it, yeah.
When I was with the Catholic cemeteries, it was mostly granite, and that's what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would never want to engrave my exact drawing onto a monument unless you hated the person.
So is yours, are you using like yours just to design and stuff, or are you actually?
It's technically, it's a graphic design program with a CAD.
Started there.
Like a CAD attachment version. Not, what's it called? Yeah, but it's vector art, but.
Like an add-on?
Yeah, it's like an add-on. Yeah.
Plug in whatever.
So you can get real precise with it. It's not like, we used to use Audio, which was an actual CAD program.
Well, and also partially.
Yeah. Very niche.
Yeah.
Elaborate. Like big illustrators. We do.
Yeah.
But everything's precise.
So yeah, screw lines.
You can't make it fun. It'll look.
Yeah. That was the hardest thing when I started, because I came from petting and so for me to grasp the whole, it has to be this exact, you know, but I'm like, when I see it here, it works here, it doesn't work here, stone. It works great on paper, but not on stone. Yeah. So that was the learning.
Plus,
I have friends that I was tomorrow.
Yeah. Next thing you know. You don't want to, but you do it. Yeah.
So do you, and they actually make them from your
We actually produce it. So we actually make those.
And not only that,
And you do design and
design.
We have worked on.
Okay.
We have.
We don't do it.
they don't have.
You graduated all So, what if they, you want the stone, what if the customer wants the stone? Do you guys cutting that, or you, someone else?
We order a file to the shape. We do print, what we call it print.
Unless it's.
Some that are trying to
Restrained by hand.
some of them are
It takes time.
Yeah. The size is kind of
Kirk is trying to, like, we have a fairly new crew in the shop, and they're really good at what they're doing. So he takes them under his wing and kind of nurtures them along.
What should I do?
It's like,
But they like this.
They can still pick the brain of the person who's on that.
Oh, really?
Okay, just all, basically sand off.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't run so far as the next.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can still, I don't want to. No, but we don't have marble in there. Twins rock it.
More formality. So what's in place?
All right.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe.
That's
Maybe.
I would do that for my
Some of
Have you ever had a design where you're like,
Oh, we got a one?
So is there anybody interested in sharing their designs? Anybody? No. There's a resounding no in the back. I appreciate the honesty, that's good. Anybody that wants to at least talk through their thoughts of design? Judy, would you like to?
I always.
Oh, well, come on up. I mean, random lady that I don't know.
I know.
Who cares? She's in the know.
That I didn't know things about monuments.
Yeah, random lady that I don't know that didn't work at a cemetery for years.
Yeah,
Why
a
don't
lot
you
of
show
years.
us?
And sell monuments for
All
dollars.
right, I have no idea who this lady is. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know where
What, you want me to just give them?
Just talk to them and show them what you did and maybe see
Okay.
what our design team thinks of your design.
Okay, this is what my design is, everybody can see. Where we got enthralled when we went to Maui several times. We always went in February where the whales were. And if you see
Walking it
top-
around real quick.
the top of it is sort of like the MetLife whale that breaches out of the water.
So she'll be sued by MetLife.
No, you will change it just
That's
enough.
right, just enough.
But that, this is going to be sculpted as opposed to engraved on there. What, Bob, the whole,
Sounds good.
I know, don't tell me what the cost is. So I already know because we have our plot, know the size regulations we're going to have, which I can go a maximum of 34 inches on the base. So then up in here, I'm still not sure. I'm going to need some expert help on a height, but maybe at least 36 inches tall on the top part. We have a short name, PAVY, short name. So my vision on that one is a thicker lettering to show than the typical lettering. And just going to have my husband and my name on it with just a little saying above that.
All right, very
And
good.
American Black.
American Black. Let's give Judy applause for this. Very nice.
Yeah, I know.
She clearly listened to that panel discussion.
Definitely. Thank you.
So I will tell you that Tim and Jenny can take a look at that and give Judy some constructive critique of her design.
And I mean, then it comes to us and we say, oh, we can show off the top.
Yeah.
And that would
That's
look
what
right.
I intend.
So,
So the top
That
of
would
it's
look
gonna
like
look like
waves.
the ocean.
okay,
That's where the stones chip, but it's
So you're
like a
gonna-
seed.
so you're gonna scallop it. That's the
Yes.
top. Okay.
And
So
then,
scallop top.
And then maybe you could do axe outline. Although you don't normally do axe outline on black. Do you think that would be broad enough? That'd be a nice broad letter.
Someone angrily smiling.
Possibly.
You don't want,
Can you skin on?
oh, definitely.
Skin
definitely.
axe outline paving and skin on.
Skin on everything
yes,
else, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh, yes, we've done that before. It looks nice.
Okay, I'm, but lettering size is gonna make a difference.
Well, you
Not
can-
just a Roman.
Oh, no. Well, the thing is,
Something thick.
axe outline is such a broad letter. It really takes up a lot of room. And you wouldn't believe how hard it is to make a small name. It's just as hard to make a small name look nice as it is a huge name. So,
We could space the letters, individual letters out a tiny bit too, to fill more space.
It's only 30 inches across.
Okay.
so 5-inch letter. Maybe.
I don't need a billboard.
And then skin on the rest.
Yeah.
To match. Nice Roman. And no verse?
Yeah, she's got one right here.
Now I know Kaoi.
Just brush.
Maui is the best. That's
Oh.
what I think.
So then a sales guy question.
Oh, here it comes. So
So
guys,
it's 30 by 36. On the top, there are a lot of custom, sculpting going on. I mean, what's the ballpark budget for something like that, would you say?
for Judy, it'd be triple.
She gets family, friends, and just.
That's right. $5 off. Something like this in round seal, which is our highest warranty granite, with that kind of sculpting, that kind of size, normal retail,
Putting you on the
He's
spot.
scared.
I'd say in the $30,000-$40,000 range.
Ooh, well, that was more than I thought.
Now, that's because of this is fully
Right.
fully sculpted.
Right, sure.
I'll give you an example. The 5-foot statues in front of Roger Glass's monument at Calvary are fully sculpted statues. Each one of those retailed for about $75,000.
Oh my God.
So it depends.
Up to over there?
And they're almost full life size, 5 foot. So I could be overpricing this a little
Sure,
bit,
sure,
but I'd say at minimum 20, 25,000 in the color that she chose,
coming from Rock of Ages because the sculpting work, especially this here, not a big deal.
Right.
That's pretty standard. It's this, but again, when I tell people, I would never ballpark this in front of a customer because I have no idea.
You could keep that height and have that shape card.
But what I will
Into
do
a scene.
is I'll tell the family, I have no idea. I'll tell them it's north of whatever, maybe $15,000. It could be as high as, but I'll tell people, I don't want to ballpark something like this because I really don't. I have no idea what the sculpting of that would cost. I could be way high, but I'd rather be way high and come down the mountain than tell somebody it'd be $5,000 and I
And
tell
I
them.
will redesign it.
Judy all of a sudden's gonna, but that's my guess in the fully sculpted, if it's fully sculpted all the way around. Now, if you just sculpted the front, that makes a difference. So there's a lot of different, and that's what we do when we talk to people, okay? We don't want to freak them out because I can take this design and do a million things to it to potentially modify the cost, okay? So I would rather you dream with me and we get a baseline somewhere and then we can adjust from that baseline. Now, if you brought this to me and said, I only have $2,000 to spend, I'd say, we're gonna need to have a talk. But I understand everybody has a budget. But I would rather for you guys to dream and then we work through, okay, well, this is gonna work and this is not. Okay, so that would be my guess is around 40 because of the sculpting. I could be way high.
Sure.
But I'd rather be way high.
Right.
So, because when I come to Judy now and say, oh, it's only 15, she don't love me.
Right.
Oh, so, but if I told her 15 and it was 40, now I'm getting kicked. So, but those are the type that are the hardest to quote because of the sculpting. Most granite is priced by square footage. So if you got a standard monument that they're just putting design on, okay, you're getting basically what amounts to a square foot. X dollars a square foot from the company, adding in my direct cost overhead and all that, and that's the price sheet. So I can guesstimate as you go up in size how much the price is going to go up pretty easily. You start adding things like full sculpting that a human being is going to sit there with literally an air chisel and do, that's when it gets real hard to figure out. Because there's times I thought, oh, it'll only be this, and I was like, well, I was wrong. And I've also thought, oh, it'll be this, and say, oh, it's not as bad. That's when sometimes people will look at overseas granite because just like anywhere else in economics, overseas is just cheaper because the labor is cheaper. If you're going to do a full sculpting, it's going to be cheaper overseas. Is the quality going to be what a Rock of Ages piece would be? No, it's not. But you saw, I think some of you saw a picture of that angel. That angel was sculpted overseas. I mean, it's not shabby. But sometimes with sculpting, that's what we'll do is offer an overseas option and then let somebody make a choice. Judy, I'm sorry that's $200,000, but if you go overseas, it's only $50,000. Sometimes we have to do that because we want somebody to have something close to what they want, but we also understand that people just don't have infinite amounts of money to spend. And so we work in those two roles.
And sandblasting versus laser, is there much cost difference there?
For us, no. We include that all in the price. And what I will tell you is polish does not regenerate itself. So anything that destroys polish is permanent, and polish is known to last between 600 and 1,000 years. So I always tell people, if you want to come back and argue with me in 1,000 years, we can. But we also trust cover every one of our granite memorials. So literally, Fifth Third has a trust. If something goes wrong with your monument and doesn't even existence, it's still covered. So I tell people, if you're hesitant about laser, understand it's fully warranted. If something were to happen to that laser, we're going to fix it because we have a trust fund to do that. So guys, that's one of Judy's thoughts. He talked about scalloping the top to add wave feel. Jenny, you have any thoughts?
Well, if she can't afford the sculpting of the whole thing, could we have it like cut to the top of the shape of the thing and then laser the whale on there?
Yep, that would be
Not
another
American
option.
Black.
No.
You could get away with American Black if it's just a whale.
Yes.
So that's another thing is American Black has lines going through it. If you put somebody's face and there's a white streak going through it, then half their face disappears, which nobody wants. So, but if it's a scene or something, that could be something we look into. But great option as far as if instead of sculpting, you go to an etching of some type for sure. But yeah, Tim's right. Other than pictures, you don't want to do
Like Tim said, we could possibly do a shape card.
And I will just say, because they are the experts of this, some monument companies aren't gonna tell you this. They're not, they're gonna just say, okay, I can do this. And then you get it, and they're not gonna come back to you and say, you know, this isn't really gonna look right on that color.
Monument companies that don't know what they're doing, and they're out there. This is the way that story goes, like you was talking about. Oh yeah, we can do that. Hey, can we do this? So I can tell you, if I tell you we can do it, we can do it. If I tell you we can't, we can't. In the rare circumstance where we're not sure, I'll tell you we're not sure. The one thing, I mean, we have 3 core values, and one of those core values is integrity always. And so I'm not going to tell you something that's not true. And that's the way we operate as a company. So any other design? First of all, Judy, nice design. I can't wait to price this out for you, Tom. It'll be great. No. Anybody else want to talk? And it doesn't have to be a pretty picture. I talk about the components and the concept of your design. You don't have to be the world's greatest artist to have a good
I
design.
said I'd want to shamrock.
Okay, talk to us about that.
Well, originally I was thinking of shamrock shape.
That wouldn't be bad. It's not sculpted. The shape, just the outline, isn't as bad as, it is expensive. I assume a shaped shamrock.
So the beauty of our industry is everything's evolving, right? And when you start talking about cutting shapes, they now have contour wire saws. They're from Italy, they're Pellegrini. And the nice thing about Pellegrini saws is you can literally plot them into a computer and it just starts going. I'm not going to say that that makes it minuscule, but that versus, to Tim's point, sculpting is going to be more reasonable. So a lot of it depends. The way I help people understand is that you're going to start with a big hunking piece of stone coming out of the ground, usually like 8 foot by 8 foot by 4 foot. I mean, a big loaf or block. Every time somebody touches that thing with their hands, it adds cost. So if you think about something in a quarry that, you know, I've seen loaves the size of this room when they first start out. And then that's going to be knocked all the way down to a memorial that sits here. That gives you a feel for how much labor is involved. And the more things you touch, sculpting, all hand, right? But cutting out a shamrock, Pellegrini contour wire saw, computerized. That's where the differences lie on what costs what. But you never explain why shamrock.
And my maiden name is O'Shea.
Okay. So it would be a shamrock in green.
Yes.
Yes. And somebody has come to me and says, do we have Kelly green granite? No, we don't. Unfortunately, we do not have Kelly green. The worst one's when people come and ask for purple. That's when I'm like, no. Purple or yellow? If it rusts, I can get it yellow. But purple and yellow are just 2 colors. We have a color mahogany that has some purple in it. But there's certain things we just can't do. And somebody talked about Brazilian granite. Some granite makes gorgeous countertops. You can't make monuments out of it because they just don't pull that kind of material out to be able to do that. We work in 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 inch thicknesses. Countertops are, you know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. You can get a lot more play with granite when you're doing 1/4, 1/2 inch thickness.
So we could always do like the shamrock, put it in a shape and use the shamrock as a panel. And put your information inside the panel too.
That's a big shamrock.
Do what?
I said that's a big shamrock.
That is a big shamrock. So you still have options even with a basic shape. You don't necessarily have to have a shamrock shape.
Oh yeah, like a panel. But
You
you
can do
just
like-
just the inside. Make the outside a color green, and then make the shamrock
So-
dusted.
If that wire saw and shamrock was beyond budget,
That's an option.
there's an alternative. Yeah.
So that gives that kind of a look.
Yeah, you'd end up with like a lighter shade of the green.
And when Tim talked about sometimes we say no, but that's what he's talking about. We always try to provide options. We just don't like saying, sorry, no. We always work hard to provide options.
So you could always mirror them over, put significant others' information in there, a family name.
I think that's the biggest thing about our company is that we customize everything is to the person. It's not to the general public.
Exactly, everything is, we can customize just about any of them. To be honest, we don't do a lot of cookie cutter anymore where you just
Pick from a
name,
catalog.
dates, slap something
We
on
have that.
there.
We
can do that.
hundreds, thousands of different designs. And you may see, I like this on this one, and I like this on this one, and this on that one. Can I get these and put them all together? Or you can say, here's a picture, make this into a monument for me. Okay, we do our best, and we say, oh, it works. We got it for you. Or this part works, but how about we try this? It's always that.
Yeah, so don't ever think that just because you have an idea that's out of your price range, that we can't find a way to work within your.
Oh, once
price
it reaches
range.
us, the price is done.
Yeah, the price, and then our fun starts.
Our stuff's included. We just make it for you. We fit within, and you don't have to take the first one you get. You don't have to say, well, we'll just take it. No, you say, this is different than I wanted. This is more what I
This
wanted.
wasn't what I was thinking.
We work back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once
Once
I
you
saw
see
it, I
it, you're
didn't
like,
like
oh,
Yeah.
maybe that doesn't work like I thought it did.
Yeah.
But you don't want that to be too late, like somewhere else. You're done. You've already bought it. With us, we're like, okay, we'll change it for you. Just tell me what you'd like to be changed.
He says that now, but then he comes in
Ah,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
day going, Neil, this lady wants 15 changes.
How about you talk to her?
Could you help me with this lady?
He's not lying. And Cladel. You're talking about Cladel?
The clada, the
Clada.
heart,
Yeah,
the
clada.
hands and the crown. Like, and this, I would foresee that almost like at the top.
Top
Like
center.
in the center.
Well, the cool thing about something like a colada is you can actually create a shape in the granite to accentuate it. You apex top, you Gothic top something, you create an exaggerated certain rise. And if you got something like that, it can set it off, which is kind of cool too.
And you could do crazy stuff. You could do black granite, cut out shamrock, and have a picture lasered in it, and have that inset in the monument itself. There's lots of things you can do.
Jenny, do you have access to the PDF version of the design book?
I don't
Okay.
believe so.
No, just the shape, just
We just have the
the
individual
images.
components. Yeah.
Were you looking for a
This
certain
one.
image?
No, I was just thinking about toggling through the pages.
Oh, they can bring them all up. They'll be up on a big page.
So, anybody else want to share? Anybody else brave enough to say, this is what I was thinking? Chickens. And I have designed my wife and my monument partly under threat. So, my wife was like, if you die, I'm not dealing with any of your salespeople. So you will design our monument. And you will have it ready to go. So I have a design. We haven't gotten all the details out, but yes, I was threatened with my life, which is ironic because, but yeah, so I've got mine designed out too.
And you can see, we have quite a few components and we add to these daily. This is just some of the animals.
There's thousands and
Yeah.
thousands and
Yeah.
thousands.
So when you talk about component, those are artwork pieces, kind of like your clip
Exactly.
art in Word. So we have, and we've accumulated, because we started in one program and we've moved to another, we've accumulated. So even if you're at a sales branch and they don't have something to visually show you, if you just say, I like, most of the time we either have something or we can do that for you.
I like big shamrocks. I cannot.
That's right. Yeah, because I'll tell you a side story that's kind of humorous, not really. Over the past decade, I bought containers of granite. You get discounts, or they have specials where you buy 6 or 7 upright, you know. And so I'll go and I'll buy these things and I'll be like, sales folks, we got these. Let's sell them. And invariably what happens, they sell something that's 2 inches taller, 2 inches shorter, a different shape, a little bit. So to Tim's point, we're not a cookie cutter company, which is maddening to somebody that has a bunch of granite tied up and not being sold. And so I got to the point where this last time I sold it, ended up back to our manufacturer, and I just said, I'm not doing this again. Because again, we don't try to shove people in their box, right?
We work with them. And I love that about our sales team, unless I have a bunch of stock. So we try to do every single one as if it were a custom piece.
Some of those Rockwell designs from Rock of Ages, those are nice. They stand the test of time.
So what Tim's referring to is Rock of Ages is our primary manufacturer, and they have exclusive dealerships to where, like in Southwest Ohio, other than Spring Grove Cemetery, only Dodds can sell Rock of Ages. And years ago, Rock of Ages had Norman Rockwell come in, and he actually created a series of memorials for Rock of Ages, and we have that on catalog. And unfortunately, don't use as much as we could.
But they're beautiful. They're timeless.
And he even did a Norman Rockwell painting of a gentleman sculpting in the manufacturing plant at Rock of Ages. It's one of his paintings, so it's pretty neat.
We can see the original up at.
Yes, we did, up at Rock of Ages. Cool. So if you ever get a chance, if you're leaf peepers and you like this time of year, want to go to Vermont and peep, take a moment to go to Graniteville and to tour Rock of Ages, because it's a pretty impressive place.
That place is so cool.
It is home of the deepest dimensional quarry in the world, 600 feet deep. Fortunately, you can't see the bottom anymore because it's filled up with water, but it is a pretty remarkable place to go.
All the sidewalk curbs and stuff, and everything's granite. It's not like concrete.
And they just had a flood last year.
So do we have any questions for our design team? Anything that this spurred in your minds?
Oh, color.
Okay.
So if I did want a color, a purple or a red, it's just impossible, or it's not advised.
Are you talking about granite color or like artwork?
No,
color?
artwork. So let's just say it start out with a white marble.
We don't really have a way of coloring the granite, nothing that would stay.
Unless you inlay granite of other colors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the operative point. You see painted granite all the time, colorized granite. The problem is the paint that's in there will fade and come out of the granite in somewhere starting in 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
So I don't colorize granite because I want this thing to be out there 1,000 years. Why would I put it out there with something that's going to change in 10? The worst thing you can have in your monument is paint. Black paint, white paint, any paint. Because granite doesn't absorb. And so just like painting your fence outside, you put that paint out in the weather and all it's going to do is peel right off the top of that granite. It's just sitting on the surface. And so many people in our industry, because it's easier to teach somebody to go with paint than it is to teach them how to sink a letter into V sunk, you get a lot of paint in our industry. And it sure is easy to read when it first goes out to the cemetery. That's what everybody says, right? Hey, I can really see that. Go back in 7 years so you can read it. We do not paint. I was threatened with my life growing up in the shop. We do not paint. They're beating my head.
That's like gold leafing. We used to do a lot of gold leafing, and
we couldn't find a process to get the gold leaf to hold, so we no longer do it. As pretty as it was.
It's
beautiful. Granite versus marble?
We don't do much marble anymore. Big difference. Granite is an igneous rock. It literally is cooled magma. And so it has a hardness on the hardness scale of 7 to 10, 7 to 8 typically. What marble is heated limestone. So it's a metamorphic rock. So when limestone gets heated, it crystallizes and becomes marble. The problem with that is it's still very soft. The reason why limestone, sandstone, marble, slate, all of that was used back in the day is because it was easy to sculpt, because back then they were doing it by hand with chisels and hammers. But if you've been out to the cemetery, you well know that is impacted by the weather. And marble especially does what's called spalling. When a marble spalls, what happens is it sucks moisture in, and that moisture pushes back out. And if you ever touch marble and you come away with almost like chalk on your hands, that's spalling. So it's kind of weathering from the inside out. And so what we've done is we predominantly use granite, because granite, again, the polish hold on granite is anywhere from 600 to 1,000 years. And so granted, it's going to stand the test of time. There's another media that's used in our industry that we both use, bronze. The downside of bronze is it's 73% copper. And no matter what clear coat you put on it, eventually it's going to patina, it's going to turn green. Some people like that. But you've got to understand that there's maintenance involved in different things. We used to sell polished marble urns or vases, and I've seen marble vases lose their polish in under 5 years. So that's why we hedge away from marble. Doesn't mean we can't still do it. So any final thoughts from the two of you as far as you're thinking of design and composition of your memorial?
Sometimes less is more. We see a lot of times when people have so much to say, but they have a small marker or a small die, and it kind of takes away from what they're trying to portray by putting so much information on there. Sometimes you want that breathing room.
It's
So
busy.
Yeah, sometimes it can be too busy so that you have a difficult time, okay, who was this person? Well, they're kind of scattered here, 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 and here. Whereas if they have one or two things that they like, a verse that they like, sometimes simple is good. Now, if you have a large stone with lots of fill, that's a different story.
If you put entire songs
Yeah.
on the back of a monument.
From a design perspective, is if you have a lot to say and the cemetery permits, you can put a lot of stuff on the back side of the monument.
True.
And make it simple and
True.
They get the best of both worlds, don't you?
if the cemetery allows it.
If they do.
If they allow it. That's something to keep in mind too. Is
Rules.
Sometimes, as much as we'd like to help you out, we can't break cemetery rules.
But by the time it reaches us, that's all been decided.
Yeah, for the most part.
So we just get to make and create stuff every day. So what better job is that?
Another thing is, don't ever hesitate to ask. If we can't do it, we'll tell you it can't be done, or we don't think this will work well. But don't just assume because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means no one's asked. Never hurts to ask.
And we get a lot of first time stuff that we've never even
That
seen
we've
before.
never seen before.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of nice though. It brings excitement to the job.
Every day's a different day.
Every day's a different day, exactly.
Except Mondays.
Mondays are always the same.
It's when they bleed into Tuesday and Wednesday that get really bad.
Yes.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank our designers for taking the time. So we appreciate you guys. What we're going to do is we're going to transition over the next 10 minutes to our next, the downsizing conversation. So we're going to transition them out and get Denise Slick in here. So if you need to use restroom, grab something to eat. There's still coffee around. So go ahead and get that done, and we'll meet back at 2:30. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's why I said it's redesign time.
Plan B.
Yeah, I've worked 5 years longer. Maybe longer.
Unretire.
Yeah, unretired. I'm not ready to work.
Like working with
Just a thing of mine.
Is that file earlier?
Don't forget. We don't leave it.
You would, you're not a professional.
We used to do it, they used to do it, they used to have, which charity it was. They used to have times and deals. And they used to race around the green.
Yes, yes.
That was awesome.
It's probably too much liability. It's probably too many injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Denise, are you hooking in?
Huh?
Are you hooking in?
Yeah, they are doing something in there right now.
Thank you.
That's part of the process.
I sent you a Slack.
You're talking about your dad's room?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some email.
She's gonna put these up on your thing.
Does she need sounds?
I don't believe so.
All right, if she does, I can plug that back in.
Okay.
Very nice to meet everyone.
You guys are welcome to stay and watch.
Say that now.
And textures wherever you like.
I owned up to it.
Yeah. Can't do that anymore.
You can have a seat wherever.
Hi, gorgeous.
Should we make it?
I know they
I
do.
got some.
No, it's not
I
fair.
know they have seen one, but I don't know where I saw it.
We all match.
Is there any other?
No audio. We're not that fancy.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, yeah, he had a meeting, we invited him too. He did, he had a meeting. You can sit right beside him.
I couldn't imagine it. I know, but it looks like last year was. Yeah, I mean, you absolutely may.
You've already.
You don't have to get crazy. Only it comes, you know, we have concerts.
I think so. My wife doesn't think that much.
Can they join?
Yeah. Now you're already a professional.
Can they join? You know, I the first time I thought, I
Oh.
And I thought that was on you.
Fine, I need to get up and they've been shopping here for about a year
Obviously, I know, like we got past the point, so.
I think the downside is the second time.
Yeah.
Second, maybe third, fourth.
That's the picture people choose.
I keep telling Frank to follow the lead.
Was that master?
That is a good picture.
Guys are relaxed.
Oh, good.
He's girl.
Well, he did, you know.
The caption, I'm spoiled. Just-
His first wife is
I asked him if I
We're admiring you, dog.
And, yeah, you can choose one. But anyway, he followed me on Facebook and all that stuff, and he saw our video.
Nobody's gonna say that.
Funeral.
Right there.
Yeah.
through. And
Yeah.
this person is selling this, and he that was okay. So we went for a meeting with him, and we're you. I'm right.
Yeah, we're excited.
But I'm tired about it. Years ago, healthcare staff. No, there you go, trade certificate. Yeah. We have a problem.
Yes, about some furniture, do bedding and all that. All week then. That's actually.
And we've been doing that.
Yeah.
But all like forever, so it's like. Yes, we're all done with that.
I didn't
sign up for Orlando, so, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Born and raised in this area.
Okay.
The shadow. He sold it. I was gonna do this panel discussion last night.
He sold, yeah.
Oh my
And a shadow or laser, he's just not. Watch him. Hilarious.
Trunk or treat.
What? Like a cat.
And then they sort of lay back down there.
It's okay.
Shannon will have
Need some exercise to feel like that.
Now the exercise is over, but I need to.
Yes.
All right, folks, we're about ready to head into our next workshop. If everybody can grab a seat. All right, so I think we have a couple of new people, but I always like to take a moment to again thank our presenting sponsor. The presenting sponsors of Dodds Memorials, Woodland Cemetery and Arboretum, and Routes On Funeral Home, and especially thank you to Routes On for also being our event sponsor, providing us the wonderful lunch, donuts, coffee. I mean, everything you've consumed today is thanks to Routes On, so I appreciate that. Other sponsors that we have for the weekend, we've got our post sponsors, Zwick Real Estate Group, Rock of Ages Granite Corporation, Techstone Granite. We also have other event sponsors of Cold Spring Granite and Roberson Law. So just want to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors that make this possible, especially as Denise gets completely wired up here. So.
This little mic is new for us, though. Bear with me.
So while Denise is finishing up, just to let you know, obviously we're talking about downsizing, which is going to dovetail perfectly into those of you that are here this morning to talk to Jack Rodnauer and Junk King. He was the practical how to recycle your stuff. Denise is going to talk about the why you should. And Denise is a licensed realtor, and her new division is devoted to senior relocation and downsizing consulting. And one of the reasons why Denise is so passionate about this, which I think she'll probably go into a little bit, is that she, at age 34, suddenly lost her mother, and because of that became the sole caregiver to 3 elderly relatives. So this is not just a vocation for her. The downsizing and relocation thing is a passion. So with that, I would like to introduce Denise Zwick.
So I'm going through this myself right now. I am 54 years old, and I've lived in my house for 15 years. And you'll see when we go through this, if you're not occupying more than 25% of your own house, you might want to consider downsizing. I'm like, well, I better take my own advice. So I've been working on this personally. I'm very informal. What we're going to talk about today is some of the tough conversations, how to have them, when to have them, some reasons you may want to downsize, and at the end, just some really quick steps
into how to start getting ready. One of my dear clients is here with me, and we were actually on Living Dayton together about a month ago, and she couldn't have said it more beautifully as it's never too early to start, right? Invariably, they say for every year you've lived in your home, you need 1 week to downsize. So if you lived in your house 30 years, you need to start a couple years ago, right? So anyway, this is just a little bit about me. As Neil said, I've been a real estate agent in the marketplace since 1989, a broker since 1995, sold thousands and thousands of homes, had a big RE/MAX office. I've been top of the country, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff bored me. And like he said, my passion really came into years on the planet, time in the business. Just more and more people started coming to me, either wanting to help their parents or them themselves or my clients for some years. And so really the house is kind of the last bit on the totem pole, so to speak. So there's so much that has to happen before that. And just as a process, things just started, coming together for us. And so in 2021, I ended up getting rid of my RE/MAX franchise and brokerage, went from 20 staff members down to 0 and started rebuilding again, downsized outlets. So when is the right time to downsize, right? Probably before you should, right? Oftentimes we're called in at the very last minute when, somebody gets sick or someone falls or unfortunately someone passes away and there's not been a whole lot of planning because one of the things I learned last year and I hear at this event and I love quoting it is, believe it or not, 100% of us are going to leave this earth someday, right? I know we don't like to think about that or talk about it, including myself, but 30%, according to statistics, actually prepare for it. So oftentimes we're called in for that other 70% who haven't, and not even just passing, but downsizing, right? So these are some reasons why it's time to downsize. Income drops when you retire, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, right? Monthly housing expenses are more than 30% of what you're bringing in, just to kind of gauge where you should be. And housing maintenance and expenses become cost prohibitive. I don't know about you, but I'm having to put a new roof on, new gutters on, all that stuff before I move it. I'm like, this kind of stinks. That's a lot of money, right? You're feeling overwhelmed with maintenance and upkeep? Amen. You're no longer able to or want to mow your grass or shovel snow. Well, I've been there since I bought my house at 38 because I never wanted to mow grass. Like, give me a pool. But anyway, no longer able to keep up or want to keep up with the routine maintenance and the additional cost or cost prohibitive. There are people out there that can mow your grass and take care of your snow and, clean out your gutters and all that kind of stuff. But then that's adding to those monthly expenses and the cost of what you have to even live there. Your home no longer fits your needs. This is what I alluded to in the very beginning. I literally, Kaya laughs, I have about a 3,800 square foot house and I'm in the kitchen, my office, my kitchen, and my bathroom. And it's like, I don't know, 25% of the 3,800 square feet. So I'm there. Cabinets and storage spaces are hard to access, You can't get up to the tall cupboards anymore. We can't get down to the low stuff. So it becomes very difficult to live there. Or stairs make it difficult to access your normal living spaces. It's not a big deal when your master bedroom is upstairs if you're, 35. But when you're 85 and maybe your knees aren't the best, it may not be as easy to go up and down those stairs or to go visit everybody in the family room that's in the lower level, right? This is a good one. And this is happening. I'm seeing so many more of my clients that go through this. We just did a big rehab on a home because part of our program is a guarantee buy. We bought a home in Yankee Trace in the big section. I live in Yankee Trace, but a different section. And I'm noticing like a whole rebirth of this location where there are so many little tiny kids. And the lady that, we bought the house for, she's in her 70s and she's like, it wasn't like this years ago. So there's a lot of rebirth in the area and your friends are moving out, your neighbors have passed on or downsized, and you don't have that support that you used to have before. You want to convert your equity in your home into income. There are so many people that the majority of their net worth and wealth is in their property. And luckily for all of us in Dayton, Ohio, the last 3 years has added to that, right? However, we're starting to see a settling off and maybe even a trend in the other direction. So that's something to think about as well. 51% of older workers have less than $50,000 saved. Does anybody know how much it costs to move into assisted or independent living or any of those type scenarios?
5,000 a month.
Pretty much minimally, yeah, it's a lot. We've unfortunately we have a property coming up in Enid where, there's a they lived there 50 years. There's a 37,000 Medicaid tax lien on the home because the wife is now in assisted living and they have to sell the home to catch up, So those kind of bad things unfortunately happen to good people. Reverse mortgages, they're not the kiss of death. You have to really be able to understand what a reverse mortgage is and what their purposes are, but they're not a horrible vehicle like they've been made out to be a lot. They just have to be used properly. But that's the ways that you can tap into and unlock your equity. You want to be closer to family. This is a big one. We've moved multiple people back from Florida to Ohio. Whoever thought, right? But it's happening all the time. I'm like, why? Because I want to go there. But there's a generation out there called the silent generation from 74 to 94. That's that age group. They're like before the boomers. And 53% of those are moving closer to their grandchildren. They thought they wanted to retire in North Carolina or Florida or wherever, Arizona, but now they've got grandbabies and they're like, seeing them twice a year is just not enough. So they're moving to smaller homes and back to the area for that reason. And the baby boomers, they want to be closer to their adult children. Maybe they were in the generation where they didn't have a whole lot of time to spend with their kids growing up because of the double income. But now they want to be closer to their adult children and have that opportunity to do so. There are a lot of benefits to downsizing too, that some we may not have thought about. You can really realize a financial benefit. One, you reduce your mortgage and or your property taxes, which really frees up your monthly income that's typically fixed once you retire. More time to do hobbies, traveling, or other interests that you just couldn't do when you were living in your big home and living for that lifestyle and what have you. And then you really have a lot more time for your family because you're not worrying about mowing those 3 acres every Saturday afternoon or what have you, You'll spend a lot less time on housekeeping. Obviously, the smaller your house, the less time it takes to clean it, More time to enjoy your life during your golden ages, and you save money on house maintenance. It's common sense. You'll enjoy a cozier atmosphere. There's less space to spread out and divide, which makes a home a lot more cozy. Like when you have little kids around and so forth, you want them down in the basement, but as everyone grows up, you kind of want to be together in the same space, Provides more close-knit entertainment for small groups and friends. It creates a more welcoming, comforting environment for relaxation in a smaller, more cozy home. And they're designing a lot of spaces and a lot of homes right now for this type of lifestyle. So it's really interesting to see what's coming. Do you guys realize that 10,000 people a day are turning 65 until 2032? We're just getting started on this. And I will tell you, our country's not prepared for it. There's not enough housing out there that is cost effective or set up properly. Dayton's very lax on it, but we've got the in on most of those places. Minor clutter can rapidly overwhelm in a small place. When you've got a little place, things tend to add up quickly, and it makes the environment more calming and friendly. We need some unnecessary things. So again, I told you I'm going through this myself at 54. I've been working on it since March, right? My clean out girl has been in my house 5 times, and every time I get with her, she's like, gives me a packet of money, and it's like $500 here, $800 there, $300 there, and I'm like, this is junk that was in, and I'm not a huge pack rat, but this was stuff that was in my basement, in my garage, and I've made a couple grand already this year. I'm like, wow, off of my junk? What'd you sell? Was it the golf clubs? No, it was all stuff, right? Golf clubs weren't sold yet. It's selling us unwanted stuff for cash. So there's companies out there that can help you with this. There's a lot of people out there that aren't trustworthy, but we make sure we vet everybody that we work with, that I would use them myself so that I can feel comfortable to refer them to other people, right? But there are companies that will do auctions, Facebook, consignments, all that kind of stuff. So you don't even have to do that. I'm not, and I'm getting whatever my split is on it. But, when we're going out and we're talking to them, like, their goal is to get residents into their either independent assisted or 55 and older communities, apartments, whatever. And so we start the conversation by saying, you know, there's two things that really stop people from downsizing and moving forward, and that's typically the kids or the house, right? Well, I haven't figured out yet the kids, because sometimes they don't make some great decisions for their parents, or vice versa. But the house, we have all these different programs for, and we can help you in any way you can. But so we came up with like, well, how do I start having this conversation with my children? How do I have this conversation with my parents, which is a lot of times I'm asked at my age, because at my age, a lot of my friends' parents are really needing to downsize and they're so stuck in their homes. So these are just some points about how to have a hard conversation if you're trying to help get someone to realize it's time to move out of their home. Be emotionally prepared when you go to have that conversation with them. This isn't a fight. It's a tough conversation. It's an emotional conversation. He's loving the presentation, isn't he? You're such a good boy, Kaiser. Thank you for being so attentive. Didn't know. There are a lot of adult children out there having to have these conversations, so you're not alone. Like, this is literally, I get asked once or twice a week by people how to do this. So prepare yourself by reminding yourself of all the benefits and why it's critical for them to downsize, right? Put your interests aside, because they can feel it. Like, you know, you always heard that slimy salesperson thing. Well, when you're having a conversation that's a one-sided benefit, your parents can feel that, your kids can feel that, people around you can feel it. So make sure it's coming from your heart, and that it really is for their benefit if it's that time, not because, you know, you want the equity out of their house to go invest in something. Keep your emotions out of it. Remember, it's ultimately their decision, you know, good or bad. Highlight the practical. Be sure to bullet point all the feel-good reasons that would make them happy. Like, figure out what do they want when they, you know, as they grow older, figure out what can make that happen for them, and prepare that for them. It's kind of like a presentation, right? Work together to create a structured plan. We do that for our clients with timelines and deadlines and dates, but it's really important because it can take a year, 2 years. We just sold a house a couple months ago that literally January of 2022, I started talking to this family and helping them get everything, you know, moved out and moved around and new roof put on and all that stuff. So it can take a while, but have a structured, concise plan. Allow your parents to express their expectations, because it is their house, their life, and we're just helping along. Ensure that you make all the reasons relevant to them and only them. You hear me repeating that same theme a lot, right? So, because it is about them, not about us. And then research and present their options, which is another thing that we can help people with. Frame it as an opportunity. Position downsizing as an opportunity. Point out all the things that they won't have to do so that they can do the things they want to do. Speak to what makes your parents excited. Is it saving money? Is it more time to golf? Is it more time to spend with their grandkids? Can they knit more? Can they go to a book club? Whatever it is that they love to do, present all those benefits. Make suggestions that otherwise they may not have thought of, right? Focus on the low maintenance, the affordability, and the fun lifestyle that their parents can enjoy after they downsize their 4,000 square foot, you know, house on 3 acres. Keep in mind that these are heavy issues, so it's important to be compassionate the whole time through. Ask your parents how they may feel about the topic, right? Literally hear them out and see what's important to them. And consider the loss they may be feeling and the fears they may have about growing old, you know? It's scary anytime you make a move. Like, I'm there right now, and I've been doing this for 34 years, right? But anytime you make a move and something change isn't easy for a lot of people. So that's why the structure, the planning, and the benefits are wildly important to have that faced up front. And assure them that you want what they want and what's best for them. Respect your parents' dignity and their independence. Remember, this role reversal is really hard. If any of you have gone through it before, you know, it's tough, you know, no matter if you are 55 or 95, if you have parents, you're still a kid, right? Doesn't matter how old you are. So our parents have raised us and cared for us regardless of the age, we're still kids. Never speak down to your parents and make them feel like the child. That's just degrading. And help them feel like their decision and facts are theirs. Include them in all the planning process. If this is at all possible, sometimes you just have to take control. But in most, if you start early enough, you can make it a collaborative affair. And truly listen to how they feel and come up with that plan together. So then this is sometimes the harder conversation to have is like, we know we want to downsize, we know we need to move, but the kids are like, oh my God, where are we gonna come home for Christmas to? Or what are we gonna do? And like, they're more adverse to change than even we are sometimes. So it's very the same conversation in reverse, right? Approach the conversation with your children with honesty, empathy, and understanding. They may not know what you're going through living in this big house and what the struggle is that you're taking care of things, because they're off running their own lives, right? Remember, sometimes the house and everything in it is more sentimental to the adult children than it is to you. Remember or remind the adult children that you're doing this not on a whim, but that you're doing it for their future and for yours. And then, again, bullet points. These are all the benefits, right? Spell it out. Keep focused on the goal. Find your downsizing why, like what's important to you, and really relate that to your kids and have them understand what it means to you and frame it so that they can see the value for everyone involved. And then take your time with downsizing to allow everyone to process it, right? If you have the luxury of time. Let the kids in on it. This is the perfect chance to let the kids in and offer them items they may want. You know, we have another whole section, which you guys may have gone through the downsizing section earlier this morning. But when we talk about getting rid of things, it's start donating things now to the people that you want to have them, to use them. You know, that turkey, dish that's been in your family for 50 years, like let whoever, your granddaughter, your niece, whomever that would love to use it now, let them have it now, not after you're gone, right? So that you can start using it in a different way with the family, but it can still stay involved. Feel free to kids involved with helping you dispose of any unwanted items. After all, they're part of the reason you have so many things in your house. I can't tell you how many clients we have. We've got one right now. You know him, Frank. His granddaughter has the whole basement full of everything, right? We're like, how are we gonna get this out of here, right? So it's really important that you make sure, like, to have them take their stuff. You're not a store and lock. If you are, start charging them. They're expensive. Give them what they want now so they can enjoy it with you while you're all together. It's just, again, common sense. Keep focused on the goal, find your downsizing why, and clearly state it to them. It's, again, the reverse. And frame it so that they can see the value for all of you. Take your time with downsizing to allow everyone to, I went backwards, sorry. Remind them of the benefits of downsizing. Greater financial security, that's a big one. Kids don't normally ask you how you're feeling. They just think, from little to adults, money grows on trees, right? And that you're perfectly fine. And those are tough conversations to have. So let them know, let them in, that it is gonna help free you up financially if that's one of your whys. The perfect space for your needs and safety, and freedom and a more spacious lifestyle. It'll be peace of mind and improve your mental and physical health. There's a lot of stress when you're living in a home that no longer suits you. And so letting go and releasing that is a whole sense of freedom that is very rewarding. So then here are 7 super simple steps to get started. I know you had a downsizing presentation earlier today. So this is just some key points as to how to begin, and again, it's never too early. Start early, right? Give yourself time to process it, take your time, don't try to do it all in one weekend or overnight. Go through your items one by one. If you aren't rushed, you'll find downsizing to be much less stressful. Start small. Start in an area with little emotional attachment. Understand your needs, right? Start in your utility room, right? Get rid of all those extra dust mops. And I don't know if you're like me, I've got so many toilet wands. I don't know why I found those on why I said that, but I do. I'm like, why do I have all these little things? But I have tons of them. I just forget, think I'm out, I go buy more. So but get rid of all that stuff. Understand what you need, keep it, and get rid of everything else. Avoid diving into big rooms at the very beginning because it can be overwhelming. Get rid of duplicates. It's taken me 4 times since March. I've done 4 cleans processes in my closet. I think I'm done. I'm like, oh, well, maybe not. So it does take time, right? Get rid of duplicates. Yeah, I had multiple pairs of the same shoes, I'm embarrassed to admit, but I had a lot of shoes. So get rid of your duplicates, especially in your kitchen. How many spatulas and baking trays do you really need, right? Consider gifting duplicates to a child or grandchild. Look at what you want to have and what your needs will be, and take time to digitize photos, documents, and files. This is huge. We all have picture frames and albums, and if there's a flood, you lose it all, right? If you have a fire, everything's gone. So there's multiple reasons to start digitizing your paperwork and your photos. It's not only good for downsizing, but it's also good for safety reasons. Eliminate the rooms you won't have in your home. So sort some of the items in your space that might not be going with you into 4 different categories. You're gonna have 4 categories only. You're gonna have the sell category, the donate category, the throwaway category, and the stuff that's moving with you. One of the things we help our clients with is, those little stickies that you got in school, like they're red, yellow, blue, whatever. People are very visual, and if you take those and you assign a category to each one, then you just put those around your home. And then it's easy for the auctioneer or whomever's coming to help you move things out of the movers, and for you to realize what you're taking and what you're keeping. But do not have a maybe pile. Because if you have a maybe pile, the maybe pile will be the biggest pile. So don't let yourself go there, okay? And then bond and collaborate with your family and friends. Invite them over to help them start, Make it fun, make it rewarding. Bond over memories and stories as you sort through the items, right? This can be some really good family time and friend time when you're doing these things. And then let them help you pack. Saves you a lot of money in the end, right? Allow yourself some time to reminisce. It's okay to pay and let the nostalgia take over just a little bit. Downsizing can be emotional. It very much is. Like, I didn't know I had all this stuff and pictures in my home, and I'm like, ooh, I got a little emotional one Friday night with the last one. So it's okay, right? Take a break and come back to it. And don't let the memories prevent you from getting the job done, though, because there's that why again. Only make the yes and no piles. If you regularly use it, keep it, right? If it's been sitting in a closet on a shelf for over a year, it's time to go. Don't let yourself make that maybe pile. Again, I reiterate that. These are just different things we do in our company. We have broker price opinions, guaranteed financing, guaranteed sale, guaranteed buy. And then these are all the services that once people hire us to actually sell their home, how we coordinate the move in, move out. We have a client that is moving in where Marge is. We're coordinating all the repairs to his home. He's moved out. We're getting new carpet, new paint, everything that he needs to make him get the most value out of his home. And we do that at no extra fee. Does anyone have any questions about any of this or anything related to downsizing or the real estate portion of it? None?
You covered very well.
Thank you. Well,
Denise.
yes, sir.
What are you seeing, people that are moving, seniors, what are they moving into? I mean, what are the characteristics of those, homes or condos or, what's in demand,
Mostly one stories, obviously.
Basements or non-basements?
It depends. There really isn't there's not a pat answer for that. That's why, some of our clients don't want to own anymore. They just want to rent. So there's different areas that they can look at that provides everything. There are a few different 55 and older communities that are kind of like, I don't know, how would you describe it, Marge? Like, I was gonna say Club Med for seniors, but it's not quite Club Med. I don't know why that came to my head. But they have socializing. You can be as reclusive or out there as you want, you know what I mean? But they serve what you need. They're, 2 full bathrooms, 2-car garage or 1-car garage, patios. They're close together. There's a community room. Everything's on one level. Then there's other apartments that are like that too, but it doesn't have as much of the camaraderie, like the community room or whatever, because some people really aren't into that. Smaller condos. If you've noticed, there's what's called a CCRC. So like Randall House is now called Courtyard over in Centerville is one of them. So a CCRC is a continuous care retirement community, right? And so what that means is like, you may not need assisted living or independent living or what have you, but you can move into one of the villas, Bethany, St. Leonard's. Like there's a few different ones out there, and there's all different models around that. But you don't want to have to move across town or what have you. So you move into one community, you're in the independent living, and then maybe once things happen, you move into maybe more assisted living. If something happens memory-wise, it's there, but you never have to leave that community. And there's all different programs and options there too. We have a lot of people, quite frankly, that are moving in with their children. So the need for multi-generational homes, we are really, really talking to a lot of people and exploring that. Kaya, my assistant, who's with me, she's amazing, but she's doing that with her grandparents. She unfortunately, if I may, well, she put it out there in the public too. So, but you know, she's actually been one of the caretakers of her grandfather with her grandmother for almost 2 years now. He had a stroke. And they're looking at doing that right now. They're gonna be building on some acreage, a multi-generational home so that her parents can move in with the grandparents and help take care of them ultimately. So we're seeing a lot of that happen. We have another client right now that is building onto their home so that they have a whole in-law suite, you know? So it's tough for me to answer that because we have so many different and unique scenarios, but through all the years I've been doing this, we're prepared to help them with all of it. Even the one lady who is building onto her home, that's not something, I mean, I'm not a builder, right? But we have all those connections and we set her up with the best builder to build on. She has, I think MS or no, Parkinson's, I'm sorry. And so she's okay now, but she's planning for the future. So we just consulted with her and told her what to do, how she can do it, check with engineering and zoning and, you know, help her do that kind of stuff too. So I don't know if that answers your questions.
No, it's helpful, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? You guys have been very attentive, especially you.
He wants your light.
He does. He's looking for that now. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you guys. If you ever anything, please feel free to give us a call. And thank you for attending and thank you for putting this on.
So I hope this just reinforces what we've been talking about today. I mean, the more that we pre-plan, the more we prepare, the more we can move forward with our lives, not in anticipation of death, but in the peace of mind that when it comes, we've got everything taken care of. And I think that's the most important message right now with this, is that we're doing this to take the burden off ourselves, our spouses, our families, not because we think we've got one foot in the grave, but because we want to go on and live in our lives with the assurance that it's all taken care of when that time does come, because, you know, like Nancy said earlier today, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So I think it's just an important thing for all of us to understand at any age, because we all know that the younger you are, the more 10 feet tall bulletproof you tend to feel. So, yes, Desiree.
I have a question for Denise. What's your area that you cover? Do you go down to Cincinnati?
I do.
Okay.
So I've been doing this for a really long time. I started down.
Okay.
So we're as far north as, I say Pickle, but really Troy.
Okay.
We do a lot in Springfield, Trumbull County, and all the way down to we sold one in Clinton County.
Okay.
What was the name of that street, Pat?
They lived in
Bethel.
oh, yeah, they lived in Bethel.
I live in.
Yeah. It was
Okay,
Bethel.
all right, well, we should know better if they were my family
Yeah,
friends.
they were in a situation, but they were, so we've got a pretty big footprint.
Okay.
We don't go to Columbus.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a contact with people passing
Digitalizing photos? I, perhaps. So we keep a whole database of people that we use, but if you reach out to us, we'll look through everything and let you know. Because there are companies out there that do it, I just don't have one. Yes, but for a cleaner, I can give you that. For a painter, got that. But we do have resources for you.
And that's a nice thing with Denise. It's nice to have a fellow Butler aviator here holding it down with me, so. So what we're gonna do is we've got a little time between us and the next. I'm gonna go ahead and have Rachel come in, Dr. Nolan, and set up. We've got probably a good solid 15 minutes. What I encourage you to do, go out and look at the tables of our sponsors. I would encourage you to do that. Use the restroom. Those of you that haven't written on the Before I Die walls yet, they're right outside the door. Before I die, I want to ... And put down your bucket list ideas. You can put them anywhere on the board. You don't have to follow where we've written. You can put more than one. And I always love to see those because you never know what kind of things people want to do. So take the time to do that. We still have food and drink if you need it. And we'll settle back down in here about 3:15 or 3:20.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, with her? But if you have
So are you hanging in for the next?
No, well, this one was the one that I had it in before.
And she lies over here. And she's already hooked up the H tracker for them to go to the cemetery this time.
No, actually, she might. No, these are USBs.
You had signed up for it?
USB adapter.
No.
We got an HDMI over here.
Okay. Gotcha.
That should do us.
Water flooding in.
And then we've got Bluetooth.
I think she's showing some signs of dementia.
That's what I'm dealing with my brother. Sam, what's next on the agenda?
We're gonna learn about how to handle digital assets. We're actually zooming somebody in. So, digital assets.
Yeah.
Well, maybe after this.
It's about digital assets, the next presentation. Digital assets.
Got Bluetooth, we're working. Only other thing would be to connect your power cord. We can use that.
I don't know anything about this. Digital assets.
Over there. Is that it? Oh, I got some in the cooler back
So I
there
like
too.
how you're saying I didn't know anything about the digital assets and, I'm just young, that's the only reason I know anything about the digital age. But a lot of our clients that we're running into, like, especially ones that have power of attorneys, so they're scrambling, like, the kids are scrambling, trying to figure out. They're just not doing this, why couldn't mom have done, like, the online banking like I do? When they get everything sorted out and they want to do everything, if their mom did do online banking, they don't have the login information. That might be, that's what I'm imagining this would be.
We are connected and good.
Wonderful.
We just need to get the Zoom pulled up and then get the slides versus NCS and all that kind of stuff.
I just, I just learned that I'm almost 28 years old. I just learned how to transfer
From the
money
UK.
within my bank. 2
We live
months.
at 7 o'clock over there.
They will, a lot of the banks are really nice about this.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, like Denise said, I help out with my grandparents a lot, and my grandma was not the one that was in charge of the financials. And so now she is because my grandma's retired. And so not only do I have to worry about my financials, I now have to go back and double check my grandmother's bookkeeping, and I'm like, I don't think you realize this was not my strong suit in high school, in college, or any of that. Oh my goodness, I would have panicked. I would have been so panicked. Swear to table out.
You took the other half of the kite.
Here, if it's good enough for Kaiser, maybe he'll let me borrow it.
So you have to.
Just for luck, to go get a meat or treat I got. Say
Rich, I'm gonna have like 2 beers tonight, I'm gonna be asleep. They're gonna find me hunched over next to the money.
I'm gonna join you for one of those.
Fair enough.
I don't think I could do two and still drive home.
But it depends on
And
the
not fall
time.
asleep.
I usually figure out about a drink of the hour and a half, and that usually is.
He moved into a room that he purposefully, so his granddaughter would be back.
There's George that you virtually introduced. Did you see this on my post?
Yeah, I posted it.
That's right, I did. I saw it on your page.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
I hope to connect with him. I reached out to him whenever her tags to try again.
He can be difficult to get, it's difficult to get a hold of. Don't take it personally. He's just, well, you have fun, but like that. But yeah, he's a great guy. I don't have another USB port. Well, I guess I can't use it like our first.
Because Frank cannot.
I was waiting for that slide to come up.
Yeah, well, that's in my other presentation.
Yeah. But you know, I spent a lot of time over the 6 weeks giving people.
Yeah, so you did that. And you feel good about it because they're enjoying it and they jewelry. Just the memories are different when they can enjoy it while you're still alive.
It was Colorado. And I Colorado. 150 bucks. Feel free to read it if you'd like.
But once again, from one high, right,
Oh my. So I have
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh my.
Colorado.
Well, we take care of you guys.
No, we just leave it like that.
So it asked me to use my son's number.
Got it.
So I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Let's take setting things. Screen share.
As usual, what I do, look up.
Interesting, yeah.
Oh, that was your plug.
Okay, so they can definitely see that part.
It's
It was still a very. These companies are necessary, but there's not a big thing to it.
Yeah, I don't have another USB thing, so I have to do that by hand.
If it just had, do you know Neil? Can you help real quick?
What's that?
We're trying to make sure that the sound goes through the Bluetooth.
Is it hooked up?
Bluetooth is hooked up to the computer.
Okay.
It also says it's mono and stereo.
Yeah, like,
Okay, so.
yeah, but it's just, it's the whole process. We just have
Look,
to.
you can put that next to it. Select the speaker.
Oh, no, we are good.
So.
Yep.
Just crank the volume.
Depends on the circumstance you're not.
Maybe it's high as can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
So usually the function button up top is there should be.
Yeah, the only thing I don't know is how well it's gonna, because I don't know how well he's gonna be able to hear us, but that's kind of the kicker there.
Okay, go ahead and just.
Hours, right? But if it's
Oh.
minimum 2 hours, right? And but if it's like 5 hours, then
I'm telling you.
so just
Your grandfather was in the.
no, I can't. I don't even watch that.
Our
So
video.
hospices and and the family was doing medication. They're still gonna have to do that.
And well, that's where, I mean, so it was Virginia Kettering and
This is what's gonna
his wife passed away. And then.
I can kind of sit here for a second, just, the kicker is, I gotta leave.
I can be
How many days?
Okay.
You know, all that kind of stuff. And
So the news, we can leave this just here.
And she.
The famous is gonna stick around for the small tables.
She was just awesome. And, I sold their house.
Okay, so we're gonna pull these two in.
Yes.
As they are.
And I would just do it as they are, and then that way we're all set up ready for tomorrow. That's what my.
So do you need them out of there just to have for service or something?
you don't need to sit there.
So they're coming in, we got.
The second one passed away.
So I got the brother on it.
I'll be there.
Everybody else knows, they know it's gonna be a quick flip. We're on it.
If we can get this on Saturday, move it.
Yeah, she said he was cemetery.
Summerfield pop up here too.
in some cases, it's, I have this disease, it's for a process, they're giving me, 3 months to live, and I need to.
Use that.
Ours? Yes.
It's tailored to every individual, and their situation.
Thank you. They are, quite expensive. They're 6 figures. You buy a vehicle. It's crazy. I've even seen the test where they cut a test.
They're known, but it's, yes.
Yeah, so it's all extra. It looks slick.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it's
So
incredible. You're buying a vehicle that's been cut in half. And so those things.
What do you need it for?
They're like, the whole person is so reliable as a car to begin with. Really? Yeah.
Nobody else.
Right, there's no resale except other funeral homes.
The bargaining.
Because they're driving from here to there. Mhm.
There are dualists who do
Oh, really?
What you're
do
telling
that.
me.
Like the air conditioner or anything like that.
Yes.
Those kind of go back quick. Yeah.
And.
Sure. You know what? I like driving from here to there because I get wasted. Like, I'm gonna go grab some groceries. So it's like, let's get a couple of looks out. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Volunteered to keep he's fine up there. So I'm shadowing him. They had a volunteer thing. He's a finance guy. Director volunteer. It's common. I didn't have the heart to say that. I don't know.
Yeah, he texted me.
So like if you brought that up to me, it would not be common for me. So, yeah, so I'm like, you know what, that's something, yeah. And we're like just different. Bring me cinnamon and milk.
Here you go, yeah, chocolate.
So, but that was my, like takeaways from that was. When I first started working together, I did a lot of vigils. And my first time I said, what do I do? You know,
I love it. Oh, I buy her.
She bought
She's like a working tool or something.
classical music or something. I wasn't great.
I have a favorite. That would be my only other thought, to try to reach out to the side.
And I mean, you can.
And then you get, is that
Trying to
because some
it doesn't feel great, pleasant, peaceful exit from this life. And you don't know what you're doing, how do you do that?
Let me know, maybe. Okay.
I have this pretty base, but I teach what I share, what I do.
All I know is
Across the table, I
got it right down.
You know, like I walked into, I use a lot of my hospice experience. Like, you have to have my clients, right? We have one of our
It wasn't finished yet, but we have a hospice patient.
Well, I was actually really looking forward to it, because I'm like,
well, I'm taking out my phone and finding some prayers and praying. You know, it is very comforting. For sure.
active scripture or whatever.
But if I don't know, no, you know, I mean, like a general. You can go in and check. And that's the other thing that I really want to do, because I like to know that I want to ask people is, wow, that's how did I? She said, oh, we want some of this. Because there are people, so many people. So that means,
But yes, we did. We've been like this for a week. I don't like it. There's still here. Or there's something, right? And then I'm just doing vacation. So I've been on vacation. I've been doing it for 3 days. Then I take a shower. By themselves, or they didn't hold your last memory of that to be, you know, the taken to.
We got all the string tile in the house.
And they waited.
Doors locked twice. And all the things. I called you, I'm like, slow down. That backyard is that's better than a fireplace and long that's better. And that was about sitting room. So this was the big
So
I kept telling Kyle
in that situation, you can cross it.
I know, I was gonna figure one out.
Her son was there.
Can you hear me?
But that's not wasted. I was gonna make that.
Can you see the presentation?
Too much, so
I can, yeah.
Okay, good, you're here with that.
I had to put $6,000 in here, stucco, I replaced all the doors. I will, yeah, I will. I was not getting on the market in August, but I actually just lost about 25,000. Shipping and hiring.
Yeah, it was the daughter that had spent the
Yeah,
weekend.
it makes me feel good. She was hurt, she
We had, it was like a release nurse, and I've been putting, oh, come Monday morning, she couldn't be in.
But this was a big, she's we had all new contracts, and I bet me all my stuff, so I can
Yeah, it was in there all
So I
day
can
after.
do like
And
for
So we can hear, we can see, but where is the microphone, just so I know this is.
The microphone is that guy right there. Yeah, so,
It's good. Yeah.
Darren, how clearly can you hear us?
Well, you know that's why.
I retired in
I
20.
can hear you. There's a bit of background noise, but I can certainly hear you.
It's always important.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wait a few more minutes because apparently some other people might be still registering. Registering, so, then we'll start, okay?
Yeah.
No problem at all.
I'm like, what is it? It's a Friday.
Yeah.
Right, we'll put that up.
And I want you to know.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, they gotta, they gotta.
we have to deal with accounting, like,
I know my brother and my kids, when they were little, used to go to a spring garden school. And they didn't have or something, and I had to make a pair
Who's happy there?
It looks like one of those old church.
Yeah.
They did our.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I don't know what I'm. Okay. I haven't done that with my mom's stuff. Yeah.
I don't know, some of the settings.
It's 2025.
Settings, it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, she enjoys it.
All gossip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially with my kids don't use Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
They don't do TikTok, thankfully.
Snapchat.
Yes, Snapchat,
That's
that's the one. I'm going to see Schleich this weekend.
Oh, really? That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
He has done everything from.
You did water that?
Yeah. He did water sex. So then he was, he actually got his
Yes. Perhaps. No, I see, it's like, I can't see it on here either.
Because it's not the communication of.
Okay, so you'll go to share screen.
You go visit it? Cool.
It's already sharing.
Do you just want your presentation, Rachel? You just want the presentation up there?
I think.
So they can. Yeah.
I said, if I go.
Yeah, no.
So I think, I mean. Is that maybe?
Try it.
Well, that's the back.
But yeah, no,
But maybe
they do things bigger. So.
That is his favorite car.
It's like, with no face, absolutely.
That's it. You just brought it up.
You're, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 31. Yeah, that was.
So you're presenting
I'm doing exactly what I
Yeah, it's like I have three more.
If I go to the slideshow and try to present it, it shouldn't. Slideshow. I'm trying to turn off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Turning that off, should be able to.
Yeah.
What do I have? Do I have a video?
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're gonna get started again. I don't know if anybody's coming or trickling in or some people ran off, but we've got the best people here, so I appreciate everybody still being here. I'm looking to see if there's anybody new in the group. And I don't believe there is, so I don't think I have to talk about our presenting sponsors and all that. So what we'll do is roll right into a presentation with Dr. Rachel Nolan. And Darren from the United Kingdom is also on a Zoom call. So the two of them are going to talk about what to do with your digital footprint when you die, because I promise each and every one of you, your digital footprint is bigger than you think it is. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Rachel Nolan, let her introduce Darren, and we will talk about digital assets. So here we go.
Thank you. So hi, everybody. Yes, that is my name. And by trade, I am the director of the College of Public Health at University of Cincinnati. That's my day job. My night job is I also have my own private practice in which I do grief counseling. So very excited to be here today. I've been involved with Before I Die Festival. This is my second year involved with it. So thanks for having us. Darren, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi. Really good to be here. I'm Darren, Chief Exec of Delogic. The brand is Aftercloud. It's lovely to be here. It's great to see so many of you. I'm just wondering if anybody doesn't mind, maybe give me a wave so I can take a photo. Would that be okay?
If you see us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So
Great to be here.
as we discussed, we're going to talk today about securing digital assets. And you may think that you don't have any digital assets, but actually many people do. If you have anything that has a password, you have a digital asset. So with respect to digital assets, there is what we call a digital legacy. Darren, did you want to describe a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Rachel, I've just seen literally while we were waiting to begin, some people on their mobile phones. Now, straight away, you take a photo like I just did on my mobile phone, and that is a digital asset. Similarly, I guess a lot of you will have various media accounts. In fact, hands up, who's got a media account?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, pretty much everyone in the room. So you started already to build that digital footprint. It's getting huge.
Absolutely. So things like your LinkedIn, your Facebook, even like if you have online banking accounts, all of those things are part of your digital legacy and your digital footprint. So with respect to how to treat those things, that would be a part of your wishes, what you want done with that. One of the things that I dealt with personally is in 2015, I suffered a tragic loss, and I had to end the life of my father. And I had not seen my father since I was 4 years old. So I ended his life, into my 30s. And I didn't know him. I didn't know him. I didn't know what accounts he had. I didn't know what passwords he had. It was a very, very difficult situation for me, on top of grieving the loss and all of those things. So it's very difficult for grievers when they experience loss, and then they have to figure out probate, they have to figure out where the checking account is, where the gold is hidden, where the treasure is, all those other things. So with respect to that, digital wishes are something that you can let your family know in advance. Do you have any examples of that, Darren, that you can think of that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, there are now a number of platforms, and I won't talk about them individually, but there are a number of platforms whereby you can leave your wishes digitally. A little bit like a digital will, really, where you can express. In fact, we're going to come on to that shortly, Rachel. So we'll explain really what a digital executor is as well, because I think that's really, really paramount when you're considering will writing and powers of attorney and all that sort of thing. But as I said, it's kind of how we condense that into all of the footprint that we've got. So yeah, how do we manage them all?
Yeah, and that can be overwhelming. Like even me thinking about it right now, I'm thinking about, well, I have 4 different email accounts. I have 3 different checking accounts. I have 2 savings accounts, and I have a business account. I have a Facebook and a LinkedIn. And I know of no one that has the passwords other than myself and my children. And I don't know if I necessarily want my 20 and 21-year-old managing those things for me. So managing them can be overwhelming, but it's important because you need to be able to have privacy. You need to be able to document how you want to be remembered. And you need to be able to share things that are of importance to you, and then make sure that, You can be mindful of other people's particular birthdays, those types of things, because you pass that on to your loved ones so that they have that information as well.
Yeah, and I think there are certain things that you might not want to get lost in transition, because clearly some things will have a really big impact on your family history, how that's remembered in the future. So give consideration to sort of what type of assets that you might have out there that you really want to protect. And I think it's really, really important you start to think about that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to suggest too, how many of you have old photo albums at home? Probably all of you, right? Well, when you get to that point where somebody might have experienced a loss, or maybe you yourself are no longer with us, one of your family members is going to have to go in and go through all those photo albums and pull out the pictures for the memorial and pull out pictures that might be of interest to them. A lot of times people are now taking those photos, those old photo albums, and they're digitizing them by scanning them into a computer and putting them on the desktop, or keeping them stored in like a USB or some other hard drive. Again, all of those are considered digital assets. So this big question then looms: how to plan your digital legacy. So there is essentially a 4-step guide, and we actually have some information that I will share with you. I'll go and get it in just a second. But the first thing is to choose your digital executor. So I'll let Darren describe what a digital executor is.
Yeah, I mean, if you can imagine that you have an executor that you apply for your will, so your last will and testament. So that's somebody that you respect, somebody that you trust. It could be a family member. It could be someone that is close personal friend, as an example, that you want to execute your will. Well, in the same way that you do that with your will, you can now choose a digital executor. So it's the same sort of thing, but only for your digital assets. And as I said, that footprint is getting much, much bigger. So it's important that you start to manage it and potentially give ownership of that to somebody else post your death.
So what is being handed out to you now is just an example of some language that can be used to assign who you want to be your digital executor, as well as a checklist for your digital accounts to think about when you're planning out your digital legacy. So one of the most important things, again, is to list all of your online accounts. Checking, savings, all of those things that you could potentially think of. Spotify, Amazon shopping, all of those things have a digital footprint that somebody will need to have access to in order to close that account upon a person's death. The other thing is, again, documenting your wishes, what you want done with those things. Sometimes people want their social media to live on, and what we call Facebook ghosts. Actually, they're predicting in 2025 there's actually going to be more deceased persons live on Facebook than actually live persons, because the number of accounts that are on there that are being memorialized and people are still posting on, even though individuals have died, are still very much active. For example, I have 23 people on my account right now that have all deceased, but are very much alive in the digital world because people are still posting and engaging with them. Do you have any digital ghosts that you know of, Darren?
Well, one of my pet hates, actually, I have to say, and I won't mention any specific platforms, but I guess people will understand this, is you often get these pop-up memories, we call them, on a specific platform. And they can be rather disturbing or triggering if you're not expecting them. And I think that's something to be aware of and cautious of in terms of digital ghosts, because clearly if one of your members or one of your family members has recently deceased, the last thing you really want is something of a memory popping up really without notice. I think it can be quite triggering and disturbing. So yeah, I think for me, really important to start planning. I mean, the platform that I haven't mentioned do now have a memorial or in memoriam type application that you can sort of tick a box for. So that's something you can perhaps consider. And I think more and more digital applications and platforms are now applying that so that you can manage it post-death.
Yep.
But we'll come on to that shortly.
Okay, so the first step obviously is to choose a digital executor, but then a lot of times people ask, well, who should that be? Should it be my eldest son? Should it be my youngest daughter? All of these questions you might actually go through. So the first thing is to identify somebody, of course, whom you trust, particularly friends and family, but sometimes it might not be. I've had individuals who have chosen their lawyer. I've had individuals who have chosen like a niece or a nephew. It's just a matter of who you most trust and who can be able to abide by your wishes as far as what you have documented. So once you name that digital executor, make sure that they know that they're the digital executor, and then of course include this information in your will. Do you have anything to add to that, Darren?
Yeah, only really that make sure they're sort of technically savvy. I mean, I noticed in the audience there, you're all pretty much technically savvy anyway. I've seen mobiles and that sort of thing flying around, so I'm pretty sure that that's okay. But as you get older, if you wanted to choose, say, a close personal friend that isn't necessarily technically savvy, that wouldn't be a great idea. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. My son is 15 and a half. Now, I'm in technology, but if I need to find out something or ask him something in relation to digital technology, he knows instantly like that. So I think the younger people have a uncanny notion of doing something straight away. Whereas, so yeah, just give thought to who that might be that can operate it sensibly really for you. Yeah.
So with respect to the second step, can your executor also act as your digital executor? So again, it's up to you. If you would like them to be the separate people, that's absolutely okay. If you want them to be the same person, again, if you do consider naming a person, an additional person to be your digital executor, they're gonna have a lot to deal with. So again, that confidence in technology is key, very important. So with respect to what to look for in a digital executor, as Darren will probably tell you, somebody that's reliable, technologically savvy, organized, patient, obviously. How many of us have forgotten our passwords and then tried to remember it and then got locked out? Or then we had to email somebody to figure out a new password and then we forgot that. It's just, there's a lot to deal with respect to patience. Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what
age,
you forget it. Yep, I agree. I'm with you there all the time. I'm sorry, no, what?
Sorry, I was just about to ask, in terms of the audience, how many people, maybe just a show of hands, have got a will in place? Just a normal.
So a large group?
Yeah, pretty much most people. And how many people have a digital will?
No one.
Yeah. It's really, really important. I mean, if you can imagine, we live our lives literally digitally now. It's becoming more and more important.
So again, listing your online accounts for step 2. When you're making that list, please don't forget those accounts that you don't often use. Like I remember I mentioned the Amazon accounts, although I use my Amazon account multiple times a day, unfortunately. But things like Spotify, old accounts, the best way that I like to keep track is I kind of just look at my smartphone and I look at all the apps that I have installed. So there is a way for me to kind of manage what I do have passwords and things like that for. Even shipping, like UPS, your preferences for where you want your packages delivered, all of those things are part of that digital footprint. Here are, again, some other examples that you might think of. Pinterest, Instagram, WhatsApp, Yahoo. I've had a Yahoo account since I was probably 17 years old that I have not looked at in probably over 10, 15 years. I have no idea what's in that account anymore, but it's good to be able to, again, that just cued me. So knowing that I have that old account, I had not thought about that account in quite some time.
I'd be interested to hear in the audience maybe if there are any others they can think about or think of that we haven't necessarily included on that list.
Many?
Life 360.
What?
Life 360.
Yep, Live 360. Mm-hmm. That's one.
Go back to
Sure,
the
yeah.
list that you're.
Just Snapchat.
Snapchat, that's a good one. Yeah, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Dropbox, yep.
Google Drive.
Yeah, Google Drive.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah, Ancestry.com. Ooh, that's a good one that I have that I have not looked at in quite some time. Yeah.
How do you delete the ones that you don't want or use anymore?
Yeah, you would have to log into that system then, and then delete your account, or make sure that your account is no longer needed, and let them know.
So you need a password.
Yeah. Yep. And if you've forgotten, you're gonna have to request a password.
Or even worse, if you're no longer using an email address that is linked to the
Right.
password,
So the email,
then it's even
then
worse.
done. Yeah, the verification goes to an email account that you can't access.
So one of the clients that I'm working with right now, unfortunately, their son was killed in action in May earlier this year. He was killed in the line of duty. And they're moving into his house. And he has a security system. And the security system is attached to his email, which the parents don't have a password for. And even though the mother has been court appointed as far as to be able to manage his accounts, ADT, I guess I shouldn't probably mention that name, so delete, the company that they're working with that manages their security will not at all give them permission to manage that security system. So that's another thing. If you have a security system in your household, if you have a Ring, like those little tiny camera wind chimes, I know I have them all throughout my house. All of those things are still part of that digital footprint. So other things with respect to money, Darren, you want to go through this list?
Yeah, I think it's really imperative now, because I think probably everybody now has these in multiples, current accounts. Think of what you might have multiple current accounts as well, savings accounts, credit cards, loans, PayPal, online store credit. If you use Walmart or something like that, online auction sites, eBay, gaming. If you gamble, not that I'm a gambler, but if you do have gambling or betting syndicates and that sort of thing online, again. All of these things need to give consideration to store cards, loyalty cards. I mean, the list can go on actually. I mean, we've put a fair few down there, investment shared. Can anybody think of any others, money related?
Yeah, this is not money related, but I thought of some from that other list you had, professional organizations.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point. Associations that you might be a member of.
AAA.
AAA, yeah.
Yeah.
Any of those types of discount, even like car insurance, all of those things. Very, very, very important.
House insurance. Again, if you've got a digital account now.
Pet insurance, speaking of our pet friends that are walking around here right now. Other things we see here at Flickr, we've already mentioned some of the music and some of the file storage. My favorite, online dating. Some of us maybe had some profiles before we found our soulmate. So again, looking at those things. Netflix, very important for me. Lots and lots of other things to think about. And I'm sure if you listed them all down, you would be surprised just how large your digital footprint is, even though you might not think of yourself as having this digital legacy. So other information to give your digital executor, the more information you can give, the better. So for example, here we list some things like the actual name of the Facebook account. So right now, my name, of course, is Rachel Nolan. And if you put in Facebook, Rachel Nolan, there's 7 of us. And one is someone who lives in California, who I have no relations to. But the other one actually is in Australia. And I started out doing hand hygiene research. And she's a hand hygiene researcher. And I can't tell you how many people reach out to me thinking that I'm her and vice versa. I'll always get these emails, hey, I didn't know you were in the States. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been in the States all my life. Who are you? And then I realized that they are speaking of the other Rachel. And we kind of joke around because she's my friend on Facebook. So every once in a while, I'll just check in with her and send her a message. So again, there's plenty of people that have the same name as you. So making sure that it's you might be very beneficial for them with respect to username, account numbers, ID numbers, all of those things are critical for your digital executor to know. So Darren, if you want to talk about passwords.
Yeah, it's just really, really important and imperative because, passwords in some respects need to be held very, very dearly. And I know, Rachel, that you mentioned the person in question that has taken over her son's property. They probably need that information, actually. I think for next of kin, as an example, I have a digital wallet that I have all my passwords in that my wife has access to. Clearly I trust my wife, it's there in case anything happens to me, but you don't give them out to your digital executor. They are there to contact the relevant organisations in relation to your accounts. They're not there to access accounts, and I think it's really, really critically important to know that distinction. But that said, it is important for somebody to have access to your passwords, I think. The inevitable will happen one day, but it's clearly important that it's there for whenever.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, sometimes there's safes, people have safes in their homes. So back in the day, I'm gonna age myself here, you would have like a code and you would input the code and that's all you needed. Well, safes this day are very technologically advanced and they hook into the Wi-Fi system in your household. So some safes, again, part of your digital asset, if you have an old safe in your home or even a more relevant safe, make sure, again, that somebody has that information as far as how to access it, etc. So with respect to step 3, again, document your wishes. Think about what you want. Really write down clear instructions. One of the things that I always do with my med students, because they typically have very large egos, is that I like to have them make a peanut butter sandwich, blindfolded. And they can only have somebody else give them instructions. And inevitably, what happens is a complete and total mess. Because even though the instructions might be clear to the person that's saying them out loud, to the person that's receiving them or encoding them, it makes no sense. So again, when you write down those instructions, maybe pass it to somebody else and just have them read it out loud or ask them if it makes sense. Always get kind of a second eye on that. Anything else you'd like to add, Darren?
No, only in the sense that it's really, really important, and we put it in there in terms of gifts. If there are specific things, like you would do in a normal will, that you want other people to inherit, it's really important that you make that expressly clear to your digital executive that you want that to happen. And I mean, that could amount to anything, anything that's digital in that sense.
So letter of wishes. So again, you have a sample before you of what that letter might look like. You can include it in your will, and again, just keep it there, have it on hand for someone to have in the event that you unfortunately pass on, so that we can have the appropriate person identified to be able to help manage what it is that you're doing. And then lastly, where to store those digital wishes, where to put those things is very important. Darren, when you want to talk about where to store them?
Yeah, I think really, if you've, and a lot of people clearly have already made a will but not expressed digital wishes. I think if you can apply it to your will, in other words, add it to your will and the documentation held for your will, that's the most appropriate place. That said, if you do have an online document storage facility or some form of legacy platform, then that might be appropriate too. But I think personally, having it held with your will is probably preferential.
Yeah, and while we're sitting here thinking, just talking about this, all of our medical records are digitized now too. Like I know I have a My Chart, I have a Cleveland Clinic chart, a Cleveland Clinic account, I have one for St. Elizabeth Hospital, and they are not all interconnected or interpolling right now. So that again, that's another important aspect to kind of think about, because you might want someone to have access to your health information. Yes.
When I raised my hand a little earlier, I was gonna bring that up, that my mom recently passed, and but I got a phone call from a doctor who I'd forgotten to notify. So when you get those phone calls that, they're trying to make an appointment and I have to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, my mother passed, there's another key element in that you need to have your digital executive contact your doctors,
right?
Your dentists.
Yes, yeah, dentists.
I cried like a baby when I had to contact my mom's dentist, because it's like, we were going through some issues with her teeth, and I'm like, we both cried on the phone, and I'm like, okay. So there's just another example of who you need to contact, chiropractor, anybody that.
A really, really valid point, actually. Really, really important. There are now emerging platforms that will do that for you with one click. So they pre-install all the things that you might have an interest in or a relevance to, whether that's a doctor's surgery, hospital, and all the things that you just mentioned there actually. So there are now platforms emerging that can do that for you. Again, digital.
Right. And obviously, to be able to store that information, in your will is best, but sometimes people put it in a lockbox, some people put it in a safe. It just depends what is important to you and where you want to store that information. Other things that you might want to think about is, having this information is going to be a big help. It's going to be a huge relief to your family members and even to yourself if you yourself have to manage a digital legacy of someone else. And then you can always contact an attorney and make sure that the attorney has access to this information. And then at home, keep it safe. Keep it in a place that, it's going to be safe from fires. It's going to be safe from any type of thing that could potentially impact your home or wherever that information is stored. Because unfortunately, nothing is guaranteed anymore these days and age. I know right now, all of my important documents are sitting in a big cardboard box underneath my stairs. And that is not going to protect them. So I need to make sure that I get them out because it has all of my children's birth certificates, it has our passports, it has all those things in there. So I need to make sure I move them. And lastly, some other things that you might want to consider. Darren, you want to talk a little bit about this and how other apps like AfterCloud and things can help?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this isn't about AfterCloud, but that said, clearly, with the fact that our daily footprint is growing, every day you do something in the digital world means your digital footprint is growing, and it needs managing. So set up a diary reminder, every 6 months, and look at maybe contrast in terms of your active list and what you might have done in the last 6 months that you might want to add to that. It lessens the burden on your loved ones, really, on your family, on your next of kin, in the untimely, unfortunate event of your death. And it's going to happen to all of us, isn't it? So it's really, really important to get it in shape, as it were. AfterCloud is a platform that does manage that. We have multiple applications. We've got an app that enables you to daily journal within a closed group setting, so you can invite your family members in. Timelines itself, though, the one that's mentioned there, is a platform for your life story. So it's your life story in multimedia over your lifetime. So you can start to manage your digital assets in that respect. And that includes images, videos, audio, letters. And it also means that you've got something there for future generations that your family and loved ones can look back at and remember you with fondness. So that's something that will help to manage your legacy, your footprint, and indeed your digital assets. But as I say, this isn't about AfterCloud. This is about you and your digital legacy and how you can manage it going forward.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, in 2015, when I did experience that tragic loss, fortunately, the funeral home had like an online sign-in sheet where people could comment online and post pictures. And still to this day, I go back and I look at that information because I want to be able to find that and access it and have it on hand, those memories. The other thing that I'm thinking about too is I was never a person that liked to take photos. I still don't like to take photos. So you go into my house and there are no pictures anywhere, no like pictures hanging on the wall or anything. I've just never been good at that because I always take everything with my smartphone. If you were to pick up my smartphone right now, there are thousands and thousands of pictures of my kids, mostly of my dogs. Same thing with my Facebook. So I'll take a photo with my smartphone and immediately post it to Facebook. Facebook has replaced my old photo album. So having all that information, if somebody doesn't have access to those passwords and access to that information, it could be lost, or it could just sit there stagnant and nobody would have access to it. And there's a lot of good memories that I have on there. Places that we've been to all over the world, photos of travels and all those things that my children, although they're 21 and 22, have no interest absolutely in right now, but maybe 10, 20, 30 years down the road, they will want that information.
And you can back that up digitally.
Yes,
off
you
of your
can.
Facebook and your computer.
Yes,
There are ways to
absolutely.
do that.
Yes, exactly. So again, this is all about just preparing for when the inevitable time comes. There are multiple templates like we've just passed out for you that you can kind of get an idea of what to say. And with that, do you have any questions that you would like to ask either Darren or I, or even amongst yourselves about digital legacies? Yeah.
You know, when I look at my phone, I don't even know, and I'm really an idiot with the phone. I don't even know if I have that app. If it's on there, do I have it? Is that? Yeah. And how did I get? How did I get that app?
Yep, that's one of the things, because when you get these smartphones, a lot of those apps are already pre-installed, pre-stored. So you might not have ever used them, but they still exist. You can delete them if you don't use them. But again, another example, all those apps, I have tons of apps that I don't use. So it's important to, think about those things.
Do I have to have a password for every one of these?
If you use it, yes. You could just have the app automatically installed on your smartphone because it's part of the package that you receive. Like, for example, I have Google Phone. So Google automatically uploads Google Drive, Google Gmail, all of those things, but I don't use any of those. So you might have apps on there that you don't have a password for, that you don't actively use, but you probably also have apps that you do actively use, or at least used at one point and no longer use.
Well, what if it's on there and you want to use it? Do you need a password? to use
Yes,
it?
yes, unless it's automatically stored in your smartphone. So if you should be able to click it and the app will open. And if you have stored a password in your phone, it'll automatically log you in. If you have not stored that password yet, you'll have to figure out what that password is at some point or create a new one.
Well, be careful with Google because once you get Google anything, it's usually tied to a Google account.
Yep.
Which means everything Google is now tied to that account. Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar. You may not use it, but because you have an account, you have access to all of that, whether you want it or not.
It's in the cloud. Too.
Yep. Yep.
Once it's in the cloud, it's in the cloud.
You have a question? Yeah.
Well, now that we've gone to facial recognition and fingerprints
yes.
on all of our technical stuff, I'm sitting here thinking that there is sometimes that pattern that you have to get in
your phone,
in your phone, and that's another thing that these digital executors will need to know about too.
Yep. Because some people have the swipe right, the swipe left in their phone. I know I myself have a pattern, and I know my children know it because they see me do it 1,000 times a day. But does the person know? Does your loved one know what pattern you specifically have to get in your phone? Because that could be very important for them moving forward. It's also important for first responders and those types of things to be able to have information, to be able to get access to that.
I thought of something else was streaming, Netflix, all of that, all of the Netflix, anything that streams. That you even stream it to your TV. You're streaming it, and also don't forget pre-check.
TSA
pre-check and global entry. I just got global entry down earlier and at the immigration office, and he told me, the customs officer told me, he thinks in 5 years it'll just all be facial recognition, no more fingerprinting.
Yep,
So,
I agree. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
All be controlled by AI, which is.
But I'm like, when you have you take off your glasses though, it's like, I wear my glasses all the time. How is that helpful with facial recognition? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to know that answer.
And the other thing, those little air tags. So if you have an air tag on like luggage or anything else like that, again, digital asset right there. And those air tags will work wonders. I will tell you. I was in Israel and my luggage was lost for 2 weeks. So fortunately, I had 2 days worth of clothing on my book, on myself, on my book bag, on my person, and I was able to kind of wash it each night in the hotel room to the best of my ability and put it on the next day. But because of those air tags, I was able to track that luggage and found that it never left New York, and then was able to secure that and then have it sent to me and so forth. So again, those air tags, things like that are very important to have access to. Any other questions? Yeah, Darren?
I've got a quick question, and that is, well, two things actually I want to just quickly point out is when you build a timeline with Aftercloud. When you publish it, it does two things. It creates a web page with your life story on it, and you. We also publish a QR code. Now, that QR code can be shared or it can be placed somewhere meaningful in the event of your death. And we have now various QR codes that are on memorials. And I'll give you a couple of instances. One is the Chief of Police for Boston has a timeline QR code on his memorial. And another one is a Korean War veteran, John Borg, in Massachusetts, and he has a time. Anyway, there are a few of those. And then about 4 weeks ago, we unveiled a statue here in the UK for Dame Agatha Christie, and she's world renowned in terms of being an author. But it tells her life story, and the QR code sits next to her statue. Now, my question is to the audience, and this is imperative because I'm going to do something very, very special for you now. And it wasn't planned at all, but I think just because you're here and you listen to us, I'd love to do this for you. But who would like to leave a lasting digital legacy for their loved ones whenever that time comes? So that's my question. Okay, we've got a guy in the front there, we've got someone in the back kind of wants to. What I'd like to do, and is if you can do this for me, Rachel, or somebody in the venue, is take down the email address of attendees, and I will enable the team to enable free timelines for every attendee. So you've got them then. They're free, you won't have to pay for them. You can apply your digital assets to your timeline, and that's my little gift to you today. What we're doing in the future is we'll be matching timelines together so it becomes a little bit like a living, breathing ancestry or an ancestral tree, so that your family members can join in as well. So if you'd like that, I'd love to honour that for you today.
Thank you, Darren. That's very generous.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thanks again for your attention and time, Darren. Thank you for.
Darren, we'd like to say thank you very much for being part of this. Rachel, thank you very much for having him and doing this. And thank you for the generous offer that you've just provided us. So we look forward to having you do that. I'll step out where you can actually see me. Hello, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So thank you very much for your time. And if there's no other questions, then we will wrap
My
things
pleasure.
up.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Take care. All right, folks. So I'm assuming we have your email addresses because you registered, and we'll be able to put that together. Desiree can get with Dr. Nolan, and we can get that done. We are done a little early, which is not a bad thing. For some of you, it's been a big day. Anybody that signed up for Woodland, I'll look forward to seeing you for the Murder Mystery and Mayhem Tour tonight. Anybody that signed up for anything tomorrow, I'll look forward to seeing you right back here in the morning. But I appreciate your time, your attentiveness, and I sure hope that you've gotten something positive out of today. And thank you all for taking the time to attend. If you could, grab your stuff, wrap up. As you head out, we're going to be doing some repositioning because they do have a service tonight here at the funeral home. So thank you for your time, folks.
Thank you. Thank you.